Good evening, good afternoon, um, good morning to those who are connecting from wherever you are connecting from. Um, welcome, family. I just had a bit of a technical glitch there when when I was about to go live, but welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're connecting from. My name is Ezra from South Africa. I'm your host for tonight, and as you all know, for this show, um, as you all know, that we have a lot of conversations that we were busy with, and tonight we are continuing what the topic that was started by His Excellency during the day, and thank you, His Excellency, for the topic of today: justice versus peace. And we are continuing on part two. For those who might have missed, because it was during the day, most of us were doing other things, we had other commitments. So it is interesting topic that a lot of people will be here, will be joining, and be part of this movement as well. His Excellency, he started
Yes,
a
His Excellency.
very a hard topic for people. People want to choose both. They say, choose one, choose one.
Yeah, I heard that argument today in the afternoon. Especially I was having a hard time. Even Mr. Niger, he didn't want to choose. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't want to choose. A lot of people they don't want to choose. But when it comes down to two things, you need to have, in life you need to have some sort of priority. You might not be willing to say it, but deep inside your heart you know where, like, your heart align with what, whether peace or justice. But in the afternoon, His Excellence, I know you've been very busy. We had such a really good discussion, about this, and we had different people coming share their ideas, because the the fact is we are facing this situation all the time, in a personal level all the way to the government level, when it comes to justice and peace, right? So basically, question what we are asking you guys is simply to find out about your priority. What do you think it's important for you, right? You person, like, you can take out whatever that is going on right now, but when it comes down to you, which one do you think is the way and why that's the way? So, for instance, one of the things that we spoke about in the afternoon, we were speaking about justice. There were people who, decided to choose peace because they feel like there's not really justice. You know what I'm saying? They say, like, justice only come from God. There's no justice in this world, right? And so they choose peace. But what we want to find out is, how can we then have, justice, like, in issues that are going on? Because all these two things, they, you know, uh, sometimes it's interdependent, right? They're going together with one another. Sometimes it's just one like that. But um, if you come here today to raise your voice, first thing that you can do is you can just share about yourself, like, what is important to you, either justice or peace, and why is that? I think that will be an amazing conversation and will lead us to a deep conversation about that. That's all, His Excellence.
Interesting. Because I was just watching in the last 30 or so minutes since I arrived. I was watching the live the broadcast. Just I didn't finish it.
Mm,
I kind of catched
mm,
up on
yeah.
bit and pieces, and tried to skip, and I just let the audio play while I'm not there doing other things, preparing and stuff. But I was listening
Yes.
for the first part mostly. I think I kind of
Mm,
stopped when I think you were quoting Alexander Samuel as quote. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I even posted even now. It's still on there. So yeah, family, and it was quite interesting. So I kind of just during the day I could not connect because I had other commitments and stuff. But from the
Mm.
little that I kind of got there was uh, it seems like somehow the feeling, okay, this is me now talking, that
Okay.
justice and peace somehow they're interlinked. That's why people are scared to choose one, because they're thinking, if I get justice, but I also need peace, you know. Like peace, but we also need justice, we need order, we need law and order in the country, we need
Yeah.
policies, we need all those things are part of justice, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and also justice is defined in many ways. It's funny how when I saw the definitions of, like, for example, Alexander Samuel, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like looking at justice in two aspects, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how you guys were, you also talked about the peace in terms of the state of mind, and uh, that you may have food but not have
Mm-hmm.
peace, or you might not have a house but have peace, you know. So peace being a state of mind, or to have security, you know, to live without fear. So it's also what Alexander said. It is somehow a sort of a broad definition, but I think a lot of people are scared to choose one because somehow those two, they're like cousins, you know.
Yeah.
They feel that you can't really separate them. They've got a somewhere they meet and work together, justice and peace.
Mm,
Because when most countries adopted when they started doing the justice system, they wanted peace. They
mm,
wanted order in their countries. Hence, there was justice. There
mm,
was the court systems were built, and also how the law industry also grew. But as well, looking at
mm,
the justice system, most justice systems in the world, people may say whatever about it. It's somehow were built
mm,
on Christian values. Most of them, the foundation of many law
mm,
systems in the world were based on Christian systems. We adapted from the Christian systems, and obviously they had to modify with time because things change. Some things were not applicable to their day and age and reality in that in those play
yeah.
in those times. Even now, the justice system, for example, if now we look at the justice system, not just justice in general, but let's say now looking at the law and order, the court systems now, it's forever changing. It's forever changing, and I mean, it, if you're looking at it now, there's countries, a lot of countries in Africa that are battling to, for example, to accept homosexuality,
Mm,
people who might be coming from the LBGTQ, whatever, you know. I don't know how to put it all,
LGBT.
you know. Yeah, to put it as law. Many countries are not, because others will still hold it to, like, for us, we don't believe in it. So there's still resistance, but there's petitions in every country at the moment to legalize it, because there are people who are living like that. So systems are forever being challenged. The justice system is forever challenged and forever evolving. So that's why it's a
Mm,
broad thing, and it's not just one thing where you can just say justice is when you get what you want, fair and unfair. It's beyond being fair and unfair when you look at justice, you know.
yes.
Um, yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's quite an interesting topic. I think you can really break it down in so many spheres when you talk about justice, let alone peace. Also, there's a lot of, you can really break it down in many pieces. And
I have a question for you, His Excellence. By the way, shout out to Sadek is in the house as well. One thing that you guys have to know that this topic is collective effort with Mr. Sadeke. So shout out to Mr. Sadeke in the room. But I have a question for you, His Excellence.
hmm,
His Excellence, how are you?
I'm all good. I'm blessed. I'm good. I'm hyped up right now. Yeah, I had like, you know, I had so much to do today. I did a lot of things. I had a
I
productive
can see
day, if I'm put it
you
that.
look exhausted. I can
But
tell from your eyes, you look exhausted.
I managed, you know. Man, you know, God will always re-energize people. You know, for me, this works for me. You know, whatever you want to do, I ask Him, and He gives me the strength. You know, the Holy Spirit gives me the
Yeah.
strength, and I might start as if I'm a bit tired, but once I get into something, when I start working, there's no stopping
Mm.
me. You know,
Yeah.
even those people that had energy, I'll just pass them on the road. You know, they'll say, it's 1 o'clock, 2 p.m. Let's now go to sleep. And sometimes I feel like it'll be late. I'll feel like I'm going to sleep when I get, something about the state of mind, peace. You might feel
Mm.
that you're so tired, you want to go to sleep, and then a thought comes, an idea comes. You're like, no, I need to write this idea. I need to, let me Google this. Let me find out about this topic. Let me find out about this thing. Let me prep something for this, and then I'll add as time goes by.
No.
Then you find that instead of me sleeping at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m.
Mm.
In my country, I sleep around 3
Mm.
p.m. because I had something after this stream or just after watching the show. That's why sometimes I'll be watching, doing other things, listening,
Mm.
watching and just seeing. So,
Okay.
but question, sorry about that. I took.
No worries, no worries. Before I ask you this question, I just wanted to say that the reason why we are coming with this topic, because it's I hope this year, 2022, we say we're gonna be brutally honest with one another. That's first.
Mhm.
And also it's the year of action that we're gonna say love in action, peace in action, and also unity in action. And if you guys want to see more of this, if you go ahead on our YouTube channel, Swahili Nation, you will see there's a little bit of changes there. And let me show you here, guys, on the screen, and then I'll explain a little bit why we are coming up with this channel, and then I'll leave you to His Excellence Ezra to carry on. His Excellence Ezra, I'm not taking this away from you.
No, 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 no,
so,
no.
so you can see the screen here, right? You can see the screen. I changed the cover.
Mm.
2022, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. Love in action, peace in action, and unity in action. That's what we stand for in 2022. And I hope all of us, we're going to go like that. But the reason why we came up with this topic, because a lot of people have been reaching out to me for a while and have been saying, hey, did you see, Miko, what happened in Ethiopia? I think it was yesterday or the day after that. Did you see? Why you're not saying anything about that? Why this and this? Why you're quiet? And for me, I was thinking about it, and then what I realized is that most of the time we are trying not to be involved with internal affairs, like internal issues, even though we address stuff, but we also trying to be careful not to go like inside. Every country has their own rules, has their own regulation, has their own stuff. So we are trying not to go inside and trying to talk about things that are going on inside there. You know what I'm saying? So we like to take issue that is going on somewhere and to make it an African issue, to make it an African thing, because that's how it is, right? The struggle that is going on in Ethiopia is the struggle that is going on in other countries. So actually, I was thinking that how are we going to have this conversation to talk about the situation that is going on in Ethiopia? I don't know if you have seen the news, His Excellence Ezra. Have you seen the news about? Have you heard about it?
Uh, which news? The one that you talked about the Christmas event, Christmas Day event.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah.
that happened.
I didn't really follow the story, but
Uh,
when you were doing the stream in the afternoon, when I was watching
yeah.
now on my way here,
Okay.
as I said, I was just listening and just listening to what you guys were talking about. I heard you mentioning
Yeah.
it, but I haven't really followed the story.
Okay. Okay. That's that. No worries. So a little bit of summary of what has happened is, on the Christmas day, I think it was 7th of January, Ethiopia, the government of Ethiopia released some prisoners. And some of them, they were the top leaders of, TPLF, right? So they let them free. And there's a lot of mixed up feelings, right? There's a lot of people who actually are feeling that, okay, we are losing hope. How can you do something like this in a timing like this? How can you just release without saying anything about them? But eventually, His Excellence Prime Minister came and gave his thoughts, like, and the reasons why they release those prisoners. There's a couple reasons, but I wouldn't want to go in detail on those reasons. So for me, what I was thinking is, I'm thinking about, I'm not in a position to talk. That's the reason why I was quiet. I was quiet because I don't feel like I'm in a position to talk about this issue that is going on within the government inside, because I don't want to be involved much in the issues that are going on in the country. But at the same time, we need to, like, I feel like this is something that we need to address, but in a different way. And that's why we came up with this topic about, is it justice or peace? Like, what would you choose between justice and peace? Because these are moments that our leaders or our people, they're going through every single day. And no matter what you choose between justice and peace, there will be a consequences. There will be if you choose justice, the people will hate you, the people will love you, and there will be a consequences. If you choose peace, the people will hate you, because that's one of the reasons that he mentioned is releasing them because of this, your peace, right? So you'll find out that even if you choose peace, there'll still be people, who really mad at you, and feel like everything is going backward, but also there will be a consequences at the end of the day. These are kind of situations that basically they're happening every single day in the office, and it's bad position to be in. Imagine if you're in that position to make a decision like that, okay, if I'm letting go of this person, okay, what if goes out and then they start the same thing, and then we are dealing with the same thing. All right, if I keep him inside, what if people, they organize together like, oh, why not lead out, and this and this and this. So like, whatever you're gonna make this, whatever you're gonna say, whatever you're gonna do is gonna make some people happy, it's gonna make some people really mad, right? But apart from that situation, particular situation, we can generalize and think about justice and peace, because it's all about justice and peace in this time. There's a lot of people who are saying, you know what, we want justice for what has been done, and everybody is right in this case. And all these questions, these two things, justice and right and peace, there's no wrong answer, there's no right answer. Any answer, it can be any answer, depends on how you see it. You know what I'm saying? Depend on how you see it, depend on circumstance, depends on what is important to you. What is important to you? So that's why we are trying to ask in a very personal level, apart from all these things that happen, but in personal level, you as Ezra, what do you think has more priority to you? It doesn't mean that if you say peace, it doesn't mean justice is, no, it means maybe the gap might be just like this. This is how you feel. I feel like peace is like here, like number one, and I feel like justice is right here. For me, I will go after peace. Or for me, I'll go after, justice. And why I'll go after that, because of ABC and ABCD. If we have a conversation like that, I think it will help us to some extent to understand all these decisions, how they're going. To understand like that, okay, because it's very easy to see the situation and judge, but ask yourself the same question. If you are in that position, justice and peace, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose peace, or are you going to choose justice? What is the most important thing to you? And if you choose justice, do we have justice? Right? That was one of the conversations we had in the afternoon, that if we choose justice, do we really have justice? Do we, in our system, even if I bring you, Ezra, to the police, are they going to deal with you accordingly to what you have done? Let's say if you're a top leader of the government, like previous leader, you've done this and this, are they going to keep you accountable? Are you going to pay for what you've done? Right? Or our system is corrupted. So what are we choosing? Are you choosing peace? If you choose peace, then what about, justice for what has happened, for what has done? So it's very, big conversation, but I think it's the time. My question to you, it was, what is your answer? But, you can answer now, you can answer later, oh, it's fine. And yeah, we can let people as well to hear their opinion.
Phew, a tough one. But just going back to Ethiopia before I answer, for the people of Ethiopia, either way, as you said, it's a balancing thing. The people of Ethiopia, where they find themselves maybe now, is where South Africa also found itself in 93, 94. Even prior, in fact, let me not say 93, 94. Let me say between in the 80s, the white government had to now release political prisoners. Your Mandelas, they started negotiating with the ANC because there was so much turmoil in the country. They could not manage the country. There was strikes every day, shops being burned, all those things. That's why some of the things of history, they're still repeating themselves in the country even today. When people want something, they still use force to get them. If the government is not building roads, they'll go burn things so that the government pays attention to say, hey, this guy's mean business. Because if you just come and become soft, sometimes the African governments will never listen to you. That's why in other countries they use a lot of military because when they want to contain their people. But where they find themselves, when I say somehow I'm just reflecting. When I see the people of Ethiopia, I'm also reflecting on what the prime minister had to do with releasing some prisoners, reflecting on my country as well. The government was under pressure because, first of all, it's either you release or you release the prisoners or you negotiate with the prisoners, people that you call terrorists. Remember, Mandela was still called a terrorist. I think he was only removed in 2010 in some of the a list of people who are terrorists in the world, like in America and all these other countries. They still call him a terrorist because in the 60s, when he was arrested as a terrorist. He's fighting the state. He's fighting the system. He's fighting the apartheid justice system. You understand? So, but for the white people, it was peace for them. But for the black people, they didn't find justice. They didn't see justice in it because they were oppressed. They were starved of their resources, and they were not part of the development in terms of being their own, for them to carry their own destiny in their hands. So the government was forced and was under pressure. And sometimes when we look at politics, we just think politics is just local, but it's also international. When you're seeing America and other countries intervening, those are also part of the pressures that come with being in politics. Even America does get pressure from other nations when it gets condemned by other nations for some of the decisions. And governments have to act in such a way. For example, the apartheid government opted for peace first. Then they started saying, let's come up with a justice system that can cater for everyone, that will be inclusive of everyone. Because they saw that arresting and keeping all these political prisoners, because currently the TPLF, whether we like them or not, they are somehow political prisoners. When you look at in the scope of what they're thinking, they're fighting for a cause, but it might have harmed many people in the country and not really brought what they were supposed to bring as a country, or come together and unite and do something. So what it does is the government now is under pressure as well. We might not see the pressures like right now when we see the news, but behind the scenes there is hard decisions have to be made. Either you really make sure that the justice system is hard on the political prisoners, of which other apartheid government did the same thing, being hard on them, others getting killed in prison, right? So now you have this thing of you either release them or you have what we call a political solution, or an agreement to say when you are being released, you'll not take arms. For example, ANC, the African National Congress, which is the ruling party in South Africa, had a military wing called Umkhonto weSizwe. It was also being trained they had bases even in Tanzania, for example, and Zambia, and parts of Angola as well. That's why there was war between South Africa and Angola. The old apartheid government went to Angola because of some of those things. So the government now finds itself in a position where they either have a political solution, either you're releasing the political prisoners with the aim that you guys will have an agreement of bringing peace, that you'll not take arms, you'll not terrorize the community, but we're releasing you on conditions that you will meet our requirements as our needs and our desires as a country or as a government. I don't know if you missed me there, His Excellency. So as I was just saying, right, a political solution, probably they might have, as a government, obviously he has advisors, he has all the smart people around him. They had to come up with a decision. What do we do with these political prisoners? Do we keep them? Do we make sure that the law is hard on them? Or do we release them, but we have an agreement with them to say you'll not take arms to fight us. We need to build together as a country. You're right. They opted for the peace. When you go for that, it's what maybe you'd call a peace resolution in a way. Maybe there has been talks in the background that the community and the country as a whole did not know about. That those guys, you will release you, provided you'll not take up arms, you'll not mobilize. Some of them might be under house arrest. You might think they are being released, but they'll be home being monitored by the police or the army, for example, until there is a proper settlement and there won't be any guns or any war that they will try to perpetrate, or else the government will be hard on them. They will be rearrested and there will not be any other solution for them. So you might find that they went for that, and then because they are fighting for what? For peace. The government is looking at, we want peace in our land. If you release these people, we are more likely to have stability. Then we can now use the justice system to make sure that the country is one and united to go moving forward. So coming back to me, I'll choose peace first as well. I'll offer peace, and then justice will always come when you because peace starts with us. I believe also peace starts within, and I also as a Christian I believe that God is the God of peace, and I find peace sometimes when we pray and all those things. People think, oh, look at Africa, hey, they've got so many problems. Also, peace is a state of mind. When I pray, maybe that's where that's how I meditate. For some people, they call it meditation, and so for me, maybe that's how I meditate to find peace throughout all the challenges that I have around me, you know? And I find solution through that.
Yeah.
For some people, they might not understand it. They might think, no, they look at prayer and want to equate it to the situation around the people. And amongst the people, there's people that pray and are successful. So it doesn't mean everyone who prays, they're struggling in Africa, or they pray too much. No, it's not about that. You know, it's beyond that. So I'll choose peace. I'll choose peace, and then go for the political, the justice system, so that everyone can be can get a fair share.
You know, we didn't discuss about this behind the scene, the answer, but my answer in the afternoon was peace as well. And why I said that, I said it's because peace is very personal. Like a lot of time, we always say that, you know, I don't have peace of mind. This. Like I need peace of mind about A, B, C, D. So and whenever I have that peace, I'm able to do anything else I want to do. Like I'm able to do A, B, C, D, whatever that I want to do. I'm able, as long as I have that peace of mind. I can travel, I can do that. I can even forgive because I have peace of mind. So when it comes to the matter of forgiveness, and my mom once told me to forgive is to heal your soul, I can be able to forgive simply because I have peace of mind. But if I don't have peace, I would want that whoever person, like I'll be like, you know, I'm not gonna forgive you for what you've done to me, because I don't have that peace of mind in myself. And as a human being, we have this natural instinct that, you know, because I'm not feeling good, I want you not to feel good as well. Whenever I feel better, I want everybody to feel better. You know, that's why you see, you know, if you're a daddy and you had a little bit issue with your wife, you know, your anger, you will go to your kids. You go to your kids because you had some issues with, I'm not talking about you, Ezra, but other people there that I don't know, you know. You see somebody, like I remember when I was in Korea, my boss, every single Monday, it was like a hell in the work because he was going through some issues with his wife. They're about to get divorced. So every single Monday, when he comes to work, he was like a hell place. This guy was getting mad anyhow. He was just like, he was doing a lot of stuff, cussing and doing all those kind of things every single Monday, because at home, there were no peace at home. And because of that, even in the company, we were not having peace because something was going on back home. That's how much peace is important. And at the end of the day, I quit my job. And more than 30 other people, they followed me. They left the company just because there were no peace in the company. And I was thinking that, why there's no peace in the company? We found out that he was having really issues, you know, in home. And because of that, this guy, he was depressed. This guy didn't have peace, so he was not even able to do anything. So for me, in my opinion as well, I know this is just a personal level, but that's where everything begins. It begins in a family, and then you go to the city, and then you go to the country, you got the countries and all this stuff, but it starts at home. If you have a broken family, then you're going to have a broken city. You're going to have a broken country. Like everything, it starts down there. The foundation is down there in the family level. So me personally, that's what I would say. But this doesn't mean that justice is not as important. But for me, that's what I would say. Because again, you're standing for love, peace, and unity. So you guys, you can simply guess that, you know, I think this guy is for peace. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, and I see Biggie is in here, and he had a question as well. Biggie, the chief, the voice, the reason, the voice of reason.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. The whole part
Good
of the world.
evening,
Biggie, I stole that
No
from you, by
stress,
the way.
no stress, no stress. That's one thing. No stress. You know, when you pray
Mm,
at night, maybe you don't pray, but at least you're always looking forward for the next day. You
mm,
always go to sleep in peace, and you still got some disturbing nightmares because of what happened during the day. But at the same time, your
mm,
wish is to wake up the next morning. It's a gift, you know, and that gift you always got to be thankful every day, right? But the
mm,
immediate morning when you wake up, you have to tell your mind how grateful you are that you are alive. And the next thing is when you say good morning, that good morning itself to the first person you're going to say it, it has to be sincere and you're glad to see that person too. So when it comes to our human nature, if we don't appreciate our daily life, regardless whatsoever happens, what's going to happen when it comes to really have justice within yourself? We all judge. We all have the ability of judgment. It's just our judgment sometimes get miscued because we let our emotion and anger follow and disturb the the exact peace that you're looking for. Your peace of mind is a state of mind that is being granted to you naturally. It's a natural event, except the event that comes in and bombard you left and right. You agree, you don't agree, you agree, you don't agree. Everybody goes through this emotion. And then when you take it as a mass, and the mass is confused, and the masses doesn't have a peace of mind, then the mass have different way to go. Majority would follow one, the other one will follow the other one. Okay. So when it comes to peace, when it comes to justice, now you're talking about a peace for yourself, peace of mind, or you're talking about peace around you because you live among people. And that peace of mind is, are you happy to see your next fellow being alive and seeing him that morning? You see, the key is we can have justice and peace. They are integral to each other. At any given time, you're judging this is good or bad, right? So you got your justice system within your own self built in. But when it comes to a country or nations that are not in peace, they go to war. Okay, and they try to negotiate. If the negotiation doesn't work, they automatically go to war. This is human nature. Okay, the stronger is going to be the one that has power, somebody that has the machines to kill another human being. So when it comes to peace, yes, everybody chooses peace, but at what cost? What's it going to cost you? Are you a person that's able to forgive? Would you forgive yourself after you make that decision of forgiveness, no matter what the circumstances that are? If you are able to forgive, even criminals after they committed crime, after they killed somebody, at the end of the day, when they brought to justice, they are the one that's sincerely apologize for their acts. They are the one don't care. Now, whatever the sentences goes, for the guy that apologized, he gets lighter sentence, let's say, but the guy that didn't apologize still got the lighter sentence, and then people will judge, say you should get the death penalty. You know what I mean? People will jump, and because they didn't see sincerity. So we as human, the way we look at peace, it depends on how you are built, mentally stable, can really look at the right and wrongs. And sometimes you should read between the line. You're going to hold your peace of mind. You're going to hold the justice. At the same time, you'll be the judge. It's in your hand. It's up to you to decide with all the information you gathered that you're going to go along with this decision. So you'll have the peace of mind because now you are really sound You really said it's okay, even though it hurts. You know, you it's a give and take. Okay, and you came in on the South Africa issue. That was a good example. Ireland, Scotland during that time, and as well, South Africa was going through a lot of things. It affects millions. Okay, and anything that affects millions, we're all affected. There's not one individual. There's millions. So this definition, justice versus peace versus justice, they are both integral. They go hand to hand, and depending on the situation, we deal with situation rather than just bringing all the baggage. Don't bring all the baggage, because I'll judge you real quick. Okay, but if I reason what's going to benefit for the mass, we have to agree peace and justice goes hand to hand. But when it comes to you individually, yeah, individually, I want peace. I want peace. My day, when I say no stress, it's no stress. When I say good morning to you, I mean it, good morning, because I'm so happy to see you, that you're alive. We don't know what happened overnight. You might end dead. But the fact that I say good morning to you, I have a peace of mind. I'm happy that my family is alive when I woke up, and I'm alive. That's the first thing that you're going to wake up to, is your family. Maybe you're on a business trip. Maybe it's going to be somebody that your colleague, just to see them again. That's peace. But when it comes to the justice and peace, it depends where you want to use it. So I think the whole thing that happened is the fact that we went through some event over the weekend in Ethiopia for the release of prisoners and all that. Right there, that's now your peace and justice working together. So this is what I wrote that I really dig onto, and I found some quotation. It says, does justice matter in a peace negotiation? For a long time, making compromises on justice within powerful perpetrator of mass atrocity has been an integral part of peace negotiation ending conflict. And then the immediate concern of ending the violence often resulted on amnesty for war crime and crimes against humanity, sometimes even presenting the calls for justice as obstacle to peace. I want everybody to read that and understand what it means for each individual. But it came in for the mass. It came for the mass. The mass is divided. Some of them understands it, some of them don't. Now, do you call it a peace of mind, even though you have your own, as I defined it, your personal peace of mind, versus now you got a mass hysteria, you got mass contradiction, you got all this. Yeah, it can be shocking the way it was presented, or maybe the way it was said. But at the end of the day, what is important? Is this thing going to divide us, or it's going to strengthen us? And understand we got an elected government that he elected. Hey, no government is perfect. They can make a mistake. It's just we're going to have to collectively put ourselves together and look at our unity and fight for the right reasons, for peace, love, and the unity is very important. So right here, when it comes to peace, on my peace of mind, I'm very grateful for what the Lord Xavier gave me. Peace of mind, let's say. But I don't have a peace of mind because now the mass is affected. As part of the mass, I'm affected. And it's a matter of me taking it the way it is, or question it, or try to understand it better if I don't understand that issue. Because our mind is very fluid. You get influenced, you're gonna hear this, that, and this and that, and they're always gonna be. You thought you got it right. Now you're gonna hear another one that's gonna be saying something else. You say, "Oh, I forgot that." You're gonna keep bringing things where it becomes a very chaotic part where the justice and peace are really not together. They they're supposed to be, when it comes to the mass, it's supposed to be integrated. They depend on each other. What do I need for peace? The justice is going to say, I did this. The justice and the peace said, no, I don't think you revise it right. But again, once it's done and said and done, what's next? To maintain peace, to maintain love and unity. That's what we have to understand. On the general part, when it comes to justice system in Africa, believe me, we got a long way to go. Our justice systems it need to be revamped. In fact, if there's any high-profile court, I want an independent African country to see it, to read the case, determine the case, not the person. You understand? What is the case? We should be able to read case, and if the judge already judged the person because of his being and who it is, probably saw him several times in his court, and he said, "Oh man, he's the regular offender," instead of reading the actual case that he was in for. So yesterday, I don't know if you remember, Pastor Israel, I said it. We got to work on our justice system. Africa needs to work on the justice system. In fact, if all this one Africa, one unity comes, I think we can bring a great Supreme Court from all countries and have the final say and have a good, sound judgment, because they won't pick side. They're going to read the case. That's the problem in Africa. The judges don't read the case. They just judge. Before you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but you're already guilty when you got in. It doesn't mean what happened to in Ethiopia from the judgment aspect of it, because it is a concern. It has a lot of concern. Yes, it has
exactly. And if I can add something there, Biggie, as I said when Mika talked about this matter, that I could see myself in the people of Ethiopia. Even in South Africa, people think all was all rosy. There are many black people who said, after we took the government in '94, who said we must go and kill all of them. There were people who called for that, to say revenge, who wanted revenge. But it had to take leadership. It had to take people who said, no, we cannot do that. Let us look at the long-term goal for ourselves as a country. Where do we want to see ourselves? Killing them, we kill them, and then we come back, and then what? Hunger is not being addressed. Illiteracy is not being addressed. Development is not being addressed. So it had to take leadership to have foresight, to have a long-term view, to see where we are going. We're not just here about decisions that are just made here, but we have to make decisions that we are doing them here today, but they are going to have a positive impact going forward. There were a lot of people who said, no, how can Mandela do this thing? That's why some people started end up calling him that he sold out. And people forget he was not the only person who had to make those decisions. It took a lot of leadership. It took a whole lot of people. Political solution had to be made so that the country did not go into chaos and war. So that's why sometimes when people, because people are still angry, the wounds are still fresh. It's still easy for some people to say, no, we cannot leave these people. These people need to go back to jail. And it went on both sides. Even some white people were angry that, why did you let black political prisoners come out of prison and even contest for political power? So it also goes both ways. So those are the things that sometimes when we look at this thing, we need to look at it in all aspects, in all angles, to see that as a country, yes, there's decisions that leaders are making, but as people, there are people who call for, no, these people need to go back. But there will be other people who say, no, man, let's build this nation. We are tired of war. There are people who say we are really tired of war now. Let's unite, let's strive for peace and build a system. Like, for example, what you said about how do we handle, how do we maintain peace after, let's say, for example, we opted for peace? How do we use the justice system to maintain peace? We had what we call a truth and reconciliation. There were people that have brothers and sisters who were killed by the state and they didn't find them. There were shallow graves. There were even others were just dumped. Many people killed, put in the mass graves, and just cover the place. People were asking, where is our brothers? Where's our sisters? Because the government did that. And other people, with the truth and reconciliation, called on people that the perpetrators to come forward. If you feel that you are at war, you used to kill people or innocent people or people that were of the opposite side, you were called. And if you were arrested, known for doing that, you had to come to the commission and tell the people, where are the dead bodies, for example? Why was that? Who gave the orders? And people had to say the order came from above. It came from ministers, came from this, from that. And sometimes, if possible, go and show us the graves. People had to go, and the families can mourn and exhume the bodies and go bury them where they wanted them to, because there were still cries even after the election. Yes, the black government is in power, independence, whatever you want to call it. But people still had many answers. People said still had wounds in their hearts because of the injustices that were done in their land. You know, so those things we need other processes that the justice system can play a big role. That's why we had to do a new constitution in my country, so that we can maintain peace and try to cater for everyone to be part of the country and be partaker and be active citizen in the country, instead of others being the front men and others being the people who just listen and take orders. You know, but His
Yes,
Excellency.
at the same time, just to add on that, we were talking about yesterday about Nazi, when the Nazi criminals, they've been hunted down throughout the 90s, making sure they've been brought to justice. On when it comes to our situation and being on the 21st century, the process of peace negotiation has changed. The justice also changed, and coming to South Africa experience of people that did so much atrocity, they didn't put a criminal charge to them. Okay, they probably are even worse than Hitler himself, what they committed. But again, when it came in, when it comes to the 21st century, that we are looking toward a justice and peace for all humanity. It has this dynamic that's changing, but still the justice is supposed to be balanced. If you ever notice, in any courtroom, you'll see the balance. You'll see a blind justice supposed to be blind, and it will balance itself. But again, we're going through all these things that's changing, and at the same time, the greed is there, the corruption is there, the justice system throughout the world. It's not just an African issue. It's throughout the world. It's corrupted. High-profile people. The day-to-day blue collar. He goes to jail. Nobody talk about it. But when it comes to high-profile, man, there's a lot of things that goes in. Don't forget that. There's a lot of questioning why he's been accounted for this, why he's not. That it's not only African. This is worldwide. We have issue when it comes to high-profile justice system. So now, coming back to what you said, I would love to hear people that really what they felt, because this is a learning. It's not bashing. It's not bashing a government. It's not bashing whatever that happened. It's just, how do you feel? How can we heal through this process? I want to hear that part of peace. How do we heal? Okay, this done. Okay, what makes you heal yourself to have this peace of mind now? How we can really bring in that justice and really where it is benefit. But unfortunately, now, just the way, like you said, Israel, there's a lot of fresh blood that's still being spilled. There are still wars out there. There's still things that that we're still fighting on. I just want to hear that. I want to hear from people. How would you suggest to have this healing for peace? Just the way South Africa went through this, okay? And I want to hear that.
It will be interesting to hear what people have to say, especially the healing part, because healing goes with forgiveness, and others' forgiveness can mean if somebody has not healed, they might not be ready to forgive, and others might have healed or planning or still healing but willing to take that risk of forgiveness, and others might say, "I'm not ready. I can't forgive now." You know, especially if maybe you've lost a brother or a sister through such atrocities. It's a different ball game, you know. Maybe we are talking from the outside. We don't know the pain of somebody who's lost a brother and sister or a family for that matter. So they're going through that person as an individual or as a family. We might take it light and say, "Yeah, peace. Yes, peace." We are maybe talking from another angle. We are outside the main the main actors, those who are inside, who are feeling the real pain. It's a different story. But when we are just outside analyzing and putting all this analysis and angles and all those things, it might mean different. And some people might say, because you didn't lose a brother, that's why you can talk like that. You know, there'll always be people who will say that, like, I lost my family, you did not, that's why you can talk easy like that, you know. So, but His Excellency,
not me. One thing that I will tell you, I guarantee you, not me. I lost family. I went through a lot of processes, and in fact, you know, just to keep it very simple, all my talk when I talk about peace and justice is from my base experience, and I try to understand it myself, because it's very hard. It's very, very hard. I feel so bad for my people, what they're going through, but there's certain things that we need to swallow. You know what I mean? It's hard to swallow, but sometimes, you know, it's for the benefit of the good, you know, the good that's going to come out of it. And there's some other theory to it, but again, I'll keep the theory for myself until I find a very tangible, factual. We're gonna be brutally honest, like you said, Mika. You know, and if I find it, if it is there, I really don't have a reservation for it. I'll expose it. I'll talk about it, because it affects millions of my brothers and sisters. So I just leave it at that. I just want to assure the audience that it's from experience.
His Excellency, as you can see, Biggie is also talking from an experience where he has lost family, and I think he has the empathy and he sympathizes with the people that are feeling the pain and feel that justice must be served. So. Yeah, family, as you can see, we have people that are going through it, and we know that the pain that others are going through. We stand with everyone, the victims. I see somebody's talking about the victims, and yes, it's painful, but healing will come. Healing takes time. We understand healing. We cannot impose healing and forgiveness, but eventually, for us to move on, and not just move on, to also heal, forgiveness will be there somehow. But your take, His Excellency.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we're gonna allow some people to come in, but definitely I agree with what Biggie has said. I think it's important in this process not to ignore those victims, because their voice matters as well. I feel like they should. This is just my feeling. I feel like there should be some sort of system to meet up with them, to talk to them, to have a real conversation with them, because I think that's really important. Because some other people, they just want to be heard, right? That's why we started this thing, because we want to raise our voice, and we feel like there's nobody there to listen to us. If I am the government, I'm working for my people, then I have to make sure that I speak for my people on behalf of my people. And so when it comes to issues like this, then it's very important for us not to forget that there are people there who they actually went through some difficulties, some real events, lost parents, lost family, and all those kind of things. And we should find a way, to bring them in as well. We should find a way to communicate with them so that we may not be solving one problem and creating another problem. Otherwise, it's going to end up in a vicious cycle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to deal with these, but then you create another issue because all of a sudden, like, you have people who understand everything as well. And then all of a sudden, these people, they turn against you. They feel like, oh, so you just end up being in a position where everybody's pointing fingers at you. Nobody wants you. Nobody loves you. So it's, I know not everyone will love you, but I think it's important for people. They tend to react when they feel they're being ignored and their voice are not being listened. You know what I'm saying? They tend to react because, oh, why we're not being heard. So I think the best thing we can do for us as One Africa is to pray, for the wisdom, and to speak to really to our people to make sure that their voices are not ignored and they feel like they're part of, what is happening, what is going on. It's very important to explain, to talk, to have meeting with these people, like, do whatever you can, because me as a Christian, I know Bible says do everything you can to make peace with everyone. That's what the Bible says, right? Do everything you can to make peace with everyone. That means if I come to you, Biggie, like you've done something wrong I've done something wrong to you, and then I'm saying, Biggie, I'm sorry for this, and then you're like, no, I don't forgive you, and I'm like, I'm done. I apologize. He didn't forgive me. No, is that everything I can? Basically, he's telling me like to do my best, to do everything I can to wanting peace with you, to wanting peace with my brothers and sisters. And I think that should be approach on what is going on right now to build and to make that peace. Because sometimes you might think you're creating peace, but in reality you are taking peace away, from people, or you're creating another issue. Anyways, that's my take, His Excellency.
I'll add to it, give chance for peace. I want you all to remember, give chance for peace.
Yeah.
Peace doesn't come easy. It comes really, people pay their prices, but give peace a chance. Let's digest it and let's support each other. I mean, this is something that is a shocker for a lot of that. But remember, our roadmap is to unite. That means every single African has a meaning in this movement. You exist, and like I said, as an ambassadors, let's think about it. Is it something that needs to be furthermore investigated, furthermore to understand it? Maybe there's something we're missing, so you can have a peace of mind. You did everything to understand the process. You did everything to really proceed with this peace. And if you are stuck, I think we need to get good, solid information flowing and positive information flowing, even though there's a pro and con about what's happening. But we need to really, it's like a healing process. So let's heal each other by praying for one another, by praying for the government, because we don't want it to fail. One thing I'm glad is that I see a government that's making decision rather than one that do not make decision. Because if we made bad decision, then we can correct it. If you don't make no decision, you still go on the same route. So think about that too.
Wow. I just wanna Biggie. We've got Banju And we've got he just went out. Abdul Banjul Essence, the brother from the smiling coast of Africa, Gambia
Yes.
to be exact. South
Yes. How
Africa.
are you, brothers?
The
How you doing?
invisible man. We're good, brother.
Yes, yes. Keep me in your prayers. I've been under the weather for 3 days now. You know.
Mm.
Oh,
We
Yeah.
pray for you,
So
man.
what I'm feeling much better. And also keep just a reminder. We had a serious issue yesterday in New York. Immigrants from my country. I personally know some people there also in New York who died in a fire yesterday.
Oh,
19 Gambians passed away, and 9 children
mm,
were amongst the dead in New York
man.
City yesterday. So keep them in your prayers
Wow.
also.
Oh man, I'm sorry
Yeah,
hearing
very
that.
sad indeed. Um,
Oh,
yes, but the topic is quite interesting. The idea of peace, as God loving people, that's the first thing we always look at. How do I, we all want to be peaceful, but the way I think we need to deal with this situation is separate it into two. Look at it from let's because I was listening to you guys and I'm looking at it from a religious point of view also, and I'm thinking God is indeed the most just and God is the most peaceful out there. But if there was no God is just, and if God wasn't just, there would be no hellfire. There's a reason why there's hellfire because it comes with accountability. So I mean, that's what went into my head. So there is justice when it comes to God, because some people will end up in the hellfire for a reason, because God is just. So even philosophically, when we look at it, um, let's I separate the two. Thinking outside of religion. One I just make personal. For me personally, I can have a peace of mind by forgiving someone from a personal point of view. If I'm wronged, personally, I can forgive them. If someone comes and kill my relative, personally, I can perhaps handle that from a personal perspective, point of view. But if it's a collective issue, if I'm a leader in a country, it's not about me anymore. It's about the society. It's social issue now. This is beyond me. And this is where the idea of the rule of law and due process comes into play. And I believe Big E was talking about that in Africa. When someone is in prison in Africa, we tend to not even question why this person went to jail. What are they guilty of? Were they indicted? If you're going to tell me this person is a terrorist today and then he's a political prisoner tomorrow, then that you create a lot of problems in society. So I think what Big E was talking about, the idea of Africans, that we need to really work on our due process and the rule of law, because the rule of law is beyond the executive or the president. This is the country's is a law of the country. It's not even about the individual. None of us can just forgive people and say, what, unless you're a dictator, but if you have a country that has an established law, then the law is beyond even the president. You have to let the system make that decision. Me, that's how I was looking at it. And Ezra also mentioned something very important, which is the idea of truth and reconciliation. But before you reconcile within society, the truth have to be established first before you forgive. I'm talking about a collective issue now, not a personal thing. If someone is going to be pardoned, and we know this person is a killer, and you've killed so many people, at least the least you can do for us to forgive you, just acknowledge it. So when we know, when you're out there on the street, you're not going to do that again tomorrow. Someone else is not going to be at risk of being raped or killed because you are loose on the street. At least acknowledge and regret the reason why you did that. Say, you know what, I was once a killer and I did this. Here's the mass grave. This is where I buried these people. And that's what they did inside Africa. That's what they did in Rwanda. And in my country also, that's what we just wrapped up a truth and reconciliation, where a lot of people came out. And I mean, we were just all shocked because we are only 2 million people, and We never thought we had killers in our country. Some of these people, what they were confessing, they just sound like foreigners. We were all in disbelief that there's no way we have people like this in our country that can literally kill people mercilessly like this. So, but what is important is let them come out and acknowledge the be truthful, and then the reconciliation process would come there. And then whatever the family members or the victims, if they need to be compensated by the state or whatever they need to do, the state can go ahead and do that. I think that's once we separate the two from a personal, perspective and a collective or social issues, then it's going to start making a lot more sense, and trying to see how best we can establish peace. But before peace comes, there's got to be some, premise that we got to work on. Right.
Thank you very much, Abdul. A lot of points raised there. I'm just going to give a lot of people and a lot of people that I've missed seeing Prof. Ezra. And I think when I was with him yesterday, Josie, I'm always with him. I know Prof. Ezra's been making some bread. But welcome, Prof. Ezra. We really miss you. The brain, we really miss the brain. And I know you've got a lot of fire for us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you. Hey, everyone. Mika, hopefully you've recovered well. And my prayer to you, Abdul, as you try to recover. I didn't hear about the fire in New York. That's very horrendous to hear. It must have been, I don't know how these things still happen in New York. Some kind of investigation, some kind of, I know a lot of, immigrant neighborhoods or neighborhoods that are, mostly dominated by immigrants don't tend to have the same degree of community or city-wide support, be it fire departments or ambulance services. The 5-minute difference, 2-minute difference makes a huge difference. It's the difference between saving somebody or not saving. And so I would love to hear. I will try to follow up by myself here on this end, but Abdul, please keep us posted on that one. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know the topic is quite big. To me, is I know this topic came back. Hey, Biggie is there too. So hi, Biggie. Sorry guys, I disappeared on you, and I've been trying to focus on some kind of recovery. I don't know, like Israel calls it bread recovery. I don't know, bread making and bread recovery. And then I have a guest with me. So I've been trying to pay attention to a guest. One of my former students from East Coast came to visit, so I had to be a good host here as well. But I have a very, very, very strong views on where this peace and justice thing came up. I think if you debate me just alone on its own, should justice or peace come first, peace or justice, I would always, without any doubt, if an isolation, assuming that everything else is constant, it's always justice that comes before peace. Because without justice, you cannot build peace. Because without justice, you will be in the cycle of some kind of short-term kind of calmness, and then back to storm and calm and storm. And justice tend to have the power of sustaining peace, bringing peace and sustaining peace. But to me, what brought about this issue, this discussion of peace and justice, I can guess if I'm wrong, is the issue of whether the Prime Minister Abiy's decisions to not pardon, but to stop the prosecution, because it wasn't, those cases were not concluded in the court. So it was up to the executive, which manages the Minister of Justice, to determine whether is prudent to continue or stop it. And to me, we are not there yet. We're not at that peace and justice discourse. We are at that stage where how do we win the war? How do we win the war? And people tend to focus squarely on the personalities, but forget about the weight and the scale of burden placed on our leaders. The weight and scale of burden placed on our leaders. Ethiopia is conducting a massive war. Some of it is physical, military, but most of it is not. It's in the midst of a massive war. And then the resources it has to fight this battle is not material resources. The material resources don't exist. The Ethiopian armies, the Ethiopia's government budget on defense is somewhere between $500 and $2 billion, $500 million and $2 billion. Netherlands has $12 billion a year budget on defense alone. And so the burden on the leadership of Ethiopia, the burden on the economy, the burden on the fabric of the society, the burden on the sustainability of unity, and the burden on all the neighbors. If Ethiopia cannot surpass and pass this very trying time, and it gets to a point where it's things break apart, the consequence is not just for Ethiopia. Is a massive burden to carry. It is. There's a saying between a rock and a hard place. That doesn't describe the position of leaders in Ethiopia. They are not necessarily just between a rock and a hard place. That is a very nice place to be compared to where they are right now. You have the entire apparatus of neo-colonial, colonial, imperial apparatus from east to west, south, north, all the apparatus laser focused on you, trying to force you to kneel to the powers that be of the world. They're trying to get you to submit to an incredible force that some of us cannot even fathom. And to me, discounting all of these extraneous circumstances, discounting all these things that are weighing on any decision that anybody is about to make, discounting the fact that war has been imposed on Ethiopia, discounting the fact that Egypt, it's not Egypt as a country, fine, but the Egyptian leaders are intent on stopping any kind of development south of Egypt. Any kind of economic, any kind of political, any kind of social development from happening south of their border. And they would do everything and anything they can, discounting the fact that Israel and Egypt in cahoots are not interested in having the southern part of the world to step up. The EU is the same, Americans the same. We've seen this video before where a famous economist said that, if the South decides to do something about its economic conditions, decide to say, what, we're going to demand the premiums that we deserve to be paid for the things that we export to you. We demand a fair shake on the world platform, on the world stage. And the consequence to European economies, particularly to European economies, and the consequence to the world economy is unimaginable. We are talking about in trillions and trillions of dollars. In trillions. We're not talking about tiny, fractional, minimal, and marginal change in movement here. We're talking about fundamental shifts in the way the world is organized. And Ethiopia is supposed to fight that. It's supposed to go at it. And so the burden on the leadership in Ethiopia is so heavy, is so complex, is so difficult. And I am of the view, I don't know the specific details or what prompted them to make the decision abruptly. But what I can tell you is that no decision that is made is going to be 100% perfect. You would never have all the information you need, but sometimes you have to make the decision. Sometimes you're on the road and then you have to make that quick decision to save your life. That split decision to save life and then figure out the consequence of your decisions, whether it's like, some kind of consequence afterwards. This is the scenario that Ethiopia is in. People try to overlook all of these things. They overlook. I mean, for me personally, if I was to make the decision, I would go even further than what Abiy has done. But Abiy didn't have to go that far, because we have to win the war, not just the battles, but the war. And if you have to win the war without having to make any further sacrifices, any further death, if we have to end this nightmare in which we find ourselves, okay, the total and absolute bondage of the people of Tigray under this fascist TPLF, if we have to find a way to liberate and extricate, and if there's a slight opening that I can use to disrupt that group's intention to sustain a war, to maintain a war, to keep the war going in Ethiopia, I will take that. That little tiny opening that say, I would take that, and then figure out a way to make peace with people who are mad at me and angry at me. But I would urge people to really think first. One of the things that we'll do is we need to be humble. We need to humble ourselves. We are not the one making decisions. I am not the one making decisions. So those who have to make decisions are in a different position than those who are observing, watching on the side. We have the privilege of side view. We have the privilege of no pressure on us, as we watch other people make the decisions. We don't have the burden of the decision. The burden of the decision always on the part of those leaders. I mean, for anybody to think that people in Abiy's circle would make a decision that will cause them what has caused them now, and then they were not aware that this would be the one. This is part of the cost they are going to pay. That they're willing to pay this price right now, in the hope of eventually people coming around and getting around into understanding what has transpired, what was on their plate, what are the adjustments, what are the tactical, strategic actions on their plate, what powers and tools they have at their disposal, facing the concerted effort that is against Ethiopia, Africa, and the entire southern hemisphere of the world. I mean, to me, we need to be humble enough to realize we don't know all of it. We don't understand all of it, but we need to let them have their moment to reflect on their decisions, the moment to adjust and make any correction they need to make, any adjustment they need to make. But overall, I agree with them, tough decisions, but that's the thing. That's how you have to make tough decisions. You have to make decisions that are unpopular. And that is, to me, is a sign of good leadership. It's not a sign of bad leadership. You have to make a bad call sometimes. You have to be willing to take the risk and to make bad calls and bad judgments as part of being a good leader. And then just hope that they learn. And I hope, and I know they will learn. I know they will do better. And so that's my 5 cents of the issue at hand. And I think the peace and justice part is, to me, separate from that. Thank you.
And Prof. Ezra, I
It's
was
good to hear from you. You
we
got me
missed you, the
stunned,
brain.
man. We miss you, man. You're absolutely right in that same token. Is I don't know if you heard it. It was kind of surprise even for the leadership when they have to come up with this decision, because it was done through the court system, and the court system discontinued to go any further with the court process. So sometimes you're looking at it, even the Western world, you got mistrials. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know how you can say it. They're not forgiven, it's just the court cannot go any further. So I think there's a key into that at least there's a court system to the minimum adhering to the law, not the people that execute the law, but the law is there. So if you notice, they've been released immediately. They were released 9 p.m. or so at night. So that tells you this is something that was brewing within the court system. And I believe Dr. Gideon explained it furthermore. So like you said, I'd rather have a government that make a decision rather than one that does not make any decision. This is a high risk, But again, we're going to have to look at it from a standpoint. We elected them, and whether it's good, bad, we're just going to have to give them a chance and proceed on what's on the horizon, because we're young, vibrant Ethiopians that's trying to strive to have peace in our country. We have our brothers and sisters still at war. They're still protecting. They're still fighting TPLF, and of course, that becomes the stinging part of the process. So, it's right. Well said.
Biggie, I don't know how much did you guys hear me? Because I just realized that my sound system was not working out. But were you able to hear me?
We heard you. Yes,
okay,
we heard
okay.
you.
Oh, okay. I had to reset my. Well, by the way, I don't know if you just heard, but Prime Minister Abiy just tweeted that he had a conversation. I don't know if you guys talked about it, directly with the President of the United States, where they agreed to strengthen their relationships based on mutual respect. And to me, this is just it's just one step that we are beginning to see, and more detail need to come about the nature of their conversations. But the very cryptic, but a lot of coded words in there. But the key words are agreements. There's an agreement. And then on strengthened relationships and based on mutual respect. Now that is like going to be judged based on what we're going to see. But I guarantee you, one of the tests on Abiy was to show to the world that he is the leader of the country, that he will make the tough choice, the tough decisions to get peace and justice, a balance of peace and justice. That, to me, that is a demonstration of that. And I think Biggie, you captured it. You would rather have somebody that is willing to make the decision under the circumstances where you don't have a complete set of information, whether the extent of the consequence, you don't know about it, but you still have to make that decision. To me, like Abiy has demonstrated over and over again. I think the leader of Eritrea, Isaias, has demonstrated over and over again. Now we're hoping for TPLF people now is the time for them to make that decision. People are starving, people are dying in Tigray. And I know, and I get harassed on Twitter, as if I'm supporting the African Union, and while the leader I support, I wouldn't support Abiy if he was, supporting the starvation of Tigray. But but I would tell you this: they have a part to play in ending the suffering in Tigray. They are leaders there. They have the part to play in saying no. We no longer take part in this fiasco that has been concocted somewhere in some other capital, in Cairo or somewhere. And so let them, like, this is an opportunity for them to step up and then really take a step back and then really make that decision. And hopefully the conversation today with the American government and the American leadership at the highest level is that America is going to come to the side of Ethiopia and help TPLF find a way out of their own conundrum. They are in a conundrum they cannot get out, or at least on their own. Let's see if we can find a way to help them do that without having to shed any blood further. This is really horrendous what's happening in Tigray. I know people. I grew up in an orphanage, and then I know an orphanage I grew up with is also located in Mekelle. I hear from my brothers, my family members there, who I have a relationship with through this orphanage, tell me about some of the most horrific kind of conditions that they're experiencing in there, because those TPLF leaders, they don't experience the hunger or starvations or the pain or the suffering that the people of Tigray suffer. So, and then we don't hear about it a lot because their media doesn't want you to know about it. But they will make propaganda about it, but they won't make you talk about it. They won't make them talk about it. They won't make them show it, because people will hold them accountable. If Tigrayan people know that there are people now in Tigray specifically that are suffering in ways that is more than just a propaganda piece on their part. So we need to get this Tigray crisis over and done with, and then we need to get Ethiopia back to working on important things, developments, and on changing the education system and changing the health and economic opportunities that need to be worked on so much. 80% of the Ethiopian people are looking for jobs. When I say 80%, I'm talking about 80 to 90 million people.
Ezra,
so
Ezra,
yeah,
I think there's something that's playing on the background.
I'm using a Bluetooth, so I'll just turn off the Bluetooth. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think maybe, I don't know what is it. Is your aircon maybe on or something?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm right underneath the. I'm turning it off. The AC is on.
The AC
What
is
about
on,
now?
eh?
We're good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Clear.
It's been cold around here, so that's why. Yeah, sorry guys, sorry for the noise and the background noise, but there's so much work to do. I've been busy working on my company a little bit. I've been excited with the way the One Africa movement has been working on. So I've been working on really this is something I've been putting on the side. I've been working on education part, on some kind of revolutionary education system for Africa, for Ethiopia, for over 15 years now. But these past 3 years, it's been on the ice for a little bit. Now I've picked it up a little bit. This past couple of weeks, I've been working hard at it. And I'm working on it because I'm excited to come back to Ethiopia, come back to Africa, really challenge and say no more to some silly, useless education systems, to say yes more for new innovative ways of really disruptive ways of really bringing good education, good healthcare, good economic opportunities, good a society built on humanity, built on the values of African values that elevates the people of Africa, the people of Ethiopia. So we have a lot of work to do ahead of us, but we need to get done with this war right now. And I think we are almost at the last stage. Hopefully, all the signs point to that, and we are almost at the final stage of that. And people need to really take a step back and from really crying unnecessarily for things that's not their responsibility. It's not my responsibility to decide on the courses of the country. I've given that responsibility to leaders, and then if they make a mistake, it's part of being a leader, and I'll let them have that mistake.
I will let them own that mistake. I will make sure they own that mistake. That's something else. But anyways, so I'll keep it to this point right now, and I'll get back to you guys.
Hey,
I
just
mean,
give
I
you
have so much
an
stuff to say,
FYI.
but I have so much
Ezra,
stuff to say, but I would let you guys come back
Ezra,
and take
and
to
everybody
the
else
next
on
step.
this
Yes.
panel.
Yes.
Apparently, Abiy just spoke to Biden today.
I just said
So,
that earlier. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to. From what I'm seeing, there's a lot of other things that are being played on the background. So we'll let the leadership do what they do best, and let's hope they're right. And I'll conclude it right here. Just let's see how it plays.
I know it's a tweet, but don't underestimate the significance of America finally saying, I'm gonna have a conversation directly with the leader of a country.
Yep.
And then the fact that Abiy is the one to tweet about it and framing the story of that conversation. Okay, Abiy is the one. It's not Americans that are framing the conversation that took place. It's Ethiopia that is framing the conversation that took place. There's also that is another component to it. And then the nature of the conversation, as stated in the tweet, we still have to wait to judge, because tweet is a tweet, 200 and something words. But keywords, like I said earlier, are that kind of mutual respect is the key word, and strengthening relationship is another key word that you could pick up, and then so these are few issues that must be taken into account when we are actually thinking about. And then there's a number of things lined up that we here.
We kind of lost you there, Ezra. Can you hear us, the brain?
No, you just dropped.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just allow Mwendatezi to also have the floor, and then I'll have Josie, then go to Tesfa and Deborah, and then yeah. So Mwendatezi.
Yeah, hello guys.
Oh yeah, Mwendatezi.
Yeah, I've heard about the phone call. First of all, I'd like to give my thoughts and prayers to our Gambian brothers who died and who are going through a lot in that forest fire. I mean, not forest, that building fire that was happening in New York. And I'm also curious if I could ask my Ethiopian brothers about this phone call between Abiy and President Biden. What do you see this in the context of maybe the Chinese foreign minister who has been doing a lot of laps in Africa, and the Chinese government having a mission, actually putting forward a mission for the Horn of Africa? Do you think that this could have pushed the US government into the table, if I may ask?
Good question, by the way.
It's a good question. I don't think this is in the midst with the Chinese being around. They've been around for a while now. But I think from my understanding, after all that's happening over the weekend, the release of political prisoners and one of the TPLF members and all that, I think that gets a prompt U.S. saying, hey, they're ready to have a mutual respect, to begin with. Like Israel said, he saw it in detail. I just got the highlight of it. It's in the tweet. Ezra, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. If you can collaborate with the same question that is the U.S. being coming to the table because of the Chinese foreign minister doing some works in the Horn of Africa?
I think.
Go ahead.
I think to me, like what people need to understand with the limited resource. I was trying to point out with very limited resource, the context within which Ethiopia was operating is very limited, materially very limited. These are countries that have hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars on defense at their disposal. They have NATO at their disposal. They have navies at their disposal, and they have political and diplomatic powers at their disposal. And under all of those circumstances, by this time Ethiopia was supposed to have kneeled down. Probably not by this time. Well before this, it was expected to have kneeled down. They expected Ethiopia to kneel down at the feet of these superpowers. When I say Ethiopia, I also mean Africa, because I don't separate Ethiopia from Africa. It's a very highly intertwined relationship between Africa and Ethiopia and Africa. Ethiopia was projecting its sensibility, that not just of its people and its citizens, but the sensibility and the sentiment of Africa as well. I mean, all from Congo to Mozambique, from Mozambique to the Gambia, everywhere in between, the suffering and the pain that is caused as a result of the world order organized around exploitations, subjugations of poor people, and black and brown, of those in the South. Subjugations, you can see it in the pandemic. Subjugations, you can see it in the climate crisis. Subjugation in terms of access opportunity for our businesses and our entrepreneurs, our innovators. Subjugations after subjugations after subjugations. The aid money that has been established, the world order organized post-Second World War was not in favor of those in the South. We're at the mercy of this. So Ethiopia made those questions. They questioned those things. And how do they do it? How do they do it? They dare to begin to build a dam that will change their course. For the past 10 years, since the start of the dam, there's been one battle after another battle after another battle. So the climate, we are at the climate, at the top of it. What the world has realized, that you can't actually win a war without necessarily being materially endowed, in a way the world understands materially being endowed. That means without necessarily the weapons and the guns and the tanks and the planes that would stand up to the powers that be. Okay, so what Ethiopia has managed to do is wiggle a way out in such a way that now the powers that be are coming to you, and they are sitting down to you and talking to you, not talking at you, but talking to you. And that has consequences to it. So that cost is what we are experiencing right now. That requires a number of decisions. The decision to leave Tigray by the federal government is part of that decision. The decision to join the battlefield by the leader of the country is part of that decision. The decision to release all those people who are under prosecution, they have not been found guilty, but just their prosecution has just stopped, and that is within the power of the executive branch. They have not renegated on the path to justice. All they have done is that we can postpone this to another time. If these people that have been told that your prosecution has been paused, not taken away, but paused, now no longer that prosecution case that is on the court, we withdraw it for now. That's what has happened. There's no pardon here. Nobody has been pardoned. Nobody has been given clemency. Now Ethiopia has embarked on a reconciliation path, a renewal path, and so has Africa. It's not just Ethiopia. It's the entire continent of Africa is also going to go through that. Some have gone through it ahead of us. Some have not. Some have gone through it in the past, and they still need to go even further and deeper into it. But that's what's happening on the continent. That's what's happening in Ethiopia. People need to understand the big, complex set of variables The calculus here is very sophisticated and very complex. Is above the pay grade of any one of us here. That I know, that it is complex. But how complex it is, you have to be on the seat. You have to be on the chair. You have to be in front of it. And you have to be the one on the steering wheel, having to make choices of complex set of choices in front of you, having to make the right choices every single one of time. And you're going to make some choices bad. But in this case, this past week that happened is the right choice. It's the right choice for, and then you can test that in so many ways. For a politician, it's the wrong choice. For a leader, it's the right choice. If Abiy was a politician, this is just a politician who was just day trading on day trade, because most political games is about day trading. What is hot? What is current? What do people want to hear me to say? What do people want me to make a decision on today? It doesn't matter whether the consequence of that tomorrow is good or bad. Today's decision, the decision that was made, was not a political decision in the sense of a politician. It was a leadership decision in the sense that it will make me unpopular. People will be mad at me. They will go berserk on me, but we still have to do it. That's the kind of decision that it was. And that's one of the reasons why I would support it. Because as a leader, as somebody who has led small organizations, even though it's not at that scale, on a daily basis, I experience those kind of decisions I had to make, where three options are there, none of them are perfect, and none of them are good enough. So to me, that's...
Sorry, Professor, I'll have to kind of stop you there.
Okay,
we still have a lot of guys on the queue.
Thank you.
I hope, Munatenzi, we can come back and if there's something that you need him to elaborate on. And going back more to the topic, and before, but I'll ask you when we round off, Prof. Ezra, about which one will you choose? Mika cornered everyone today that which one will you choose first, but hold that thought. When we wrap up, I will ask you to give me which one you'll choose between peace or justice first. And then Munatenzi, I'm not sure if you still have another question, or you also want to elaborate on the topic at hand, justice or peace.
Yeah, I would like to have a small contribution into the topic of today, justice and peace. But I'd like to bring the attention towards Congo, Central Africa, Congo. It's a very interesting, I like to, when you talk about the leaders of now, I like to look at the leaders of the past, because, Africa has a very rich history, especially when it comes to decisions and dilemmas of our leaders. So I found that when we're talking about justice and peace, I found the story of a very famous leader called Patrice Lumumba. I know all of us probably have heard of him, and his unfortunate demise. But if you look at his story, when he was elected, or when he was in the ceremony of his inauguration as the first prime minister of an independent Congo, he was also faced with this dilemma: justice or peace. And at that time, there was the king of Belgium. He was in that ceremony. He was a young boy. Probably, I think he was a young man. He was probably, I think he was in his late 20s or 30s. But he was younger than Lumumba. And he gave the most disrespectful speech. He spoke about, I think we know the history of Belgium and Congo. And he gave a very disrespectful, he said, let me quote it, that he praised the work of Leopold II, and says that he hoped Congolese people would prove worthy of the trust that was placed among them. So at that moment, our forefather Patrice Lumumba, he faced this challenge: justice or peace. And it seemed that at that point, it seemed very obvious that he was going to go for justice, because, I mean, when you at the face of such disrespect, so he also gave a very combative speech as the prime minister. And I think because of that combative speech he gave, immediately the security services of Congo, they started attacking Belgium citizens. And there was like now a war, you know, and the country was in chaos. So I'm not going, we cannot judge him, because of course the history of Congo and what the Belgium did, it seemed very obvious that he will go for justice. But if you look 3 years after that, in a town called Nakuru in Kenya, there was a group of white settlers with their wives, a huge crowd of white settlers inside a town hall. And this old man, he entered with his walking stick, and he made a very interesting declaration. He said that my government, we need you. Let me give you the exact quote. He said that we want you to stay and to farm well in this country. This is the policy of this government. What we need is experience, and I don't care where it comes from. I will take it with both hands. That was the first president of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, trying to assure the white settlers that nobody will come for them and nobody will come for their land. Now, this was to the demise of the Kenyans, who had lost their land to the white settlers just a few decades before. And they thought that if we get independence, we will get justice, that we will get our land back. But Jomo Kenyatta, in his own wisdom, the same way Patrice Lumumba did in his own wisdom, Jomo Kenyatta chose peace, chose that no, we will not have justice here, we will have peace. And if you look at this trend, he set a trend that his speech, it has been taken over. Maybe 10 years later, the president of Mozambique, first president, Samora Machel, he also did that. He also gave a similar speech. And maybe even 20 years later, we can even go to the president of South Africa, Mandela, the first president, Nelson Mandela. He also gave that speech of which he chose peace. But now we have to understand, 60 years later, the children of those Kenyan settlers, the children of those Kenyan people who lost their land, who were landless, literally, after independence, their children are now in court, in a British court, in the pursuit of justice. So I've come to understand, when I looked at these stories, I came to understand something, that justice is a pursuit that, I don't know, because, and you've made this view that you can't have justice and peace. You can't have. But I feel like sometimes these things are independent of each other. Sometimes justice is just personal pursuit. And I can't, and it's very difficult. And I would like to ask maybe the members of this panel to give their views according to the stories I've given, or maybe even they have other presidents who have done other things. But I can't tell somebody who has lost his land that do not pursue justice, pursue peace. It's very difficult. So I understand. I'm just trying to put into play the complicated nature of these two things, justice and peace, that sometimes it's not just black and white. Sometimes you have to tell somebody that, if you feel like you need to pursue justice, you should pursue it. And there are these things of maybe the pursuit of justice leads to further injustice. As you have I don't know if you have seen in the Congo, But I think that was just my contribution. I just wanted to bring some interesting perspectives according to the history of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mundatezi. I'm just gonna let the conversation flow. I'm gonna give teacher Josie the rationale. He's also been waiting. Teacher Josie, welcome.
Can I say something a little bit about Monte's point? Very poignant point that he made. As we wait for teacher.
Before that, Prof, can I jump in and
Okay, sure, absolutely.
So you can add, because I think
we
my
can't hear
ideas
a
of,
little bit louder.
my ideas.
Can you just put the mic close to your mouth, because we really can't hear you. Very soft.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
You're still soft. I don't know if.
Okay, let me put out my Bluetooth. Can you hear me now?
Okay, that's a better, but it's still a bit soft. But that's better. Continue. Let's hear Tesla.
So I think it's Montazebi.
Mwenda Tezi.
Okay. So
you can just say Tezi.
Okay, Tezi. So Tezi has been mentioning interesting points and interesting experiences. And we need these experiences in Ethiopia because we're trying to enter into a peace and reconciliation and a national dialogue phase. So we really need, and the government has also been talking about and laying plans into inviting countries, representatives from countries who had this experiences, and I think they're going to be really useful in our case as well. But one little thing that I wanted to add before Prof to continue with, I don't know if you guys know this, but there is this literature on grief, the stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. So there are 5 stages of grief. She was a Swiss psychologist, and she wrote a thesis, a paper on, I think it's more like a book on bereavement. So the initial work was on loss days and how people cope up with the days of loved ones. But it has been amended, and and uh, and this stage hold true for not only days of loved ones, but trauma as well, uh, psychological trauma, or change in personal life, drastic changes in personal life. So what she states in her original work was there are 5 stages of grief, and the first one is denial. People tend to deny that bad things, that anything bad happened to them. So next they get angry. They could be angry at themselves. They could be angry at others. They could be angry at governments. Anything, anyone, or anything that they believe have caused that trauma to them. And then the third stage is bargaining. They start to, bargain a way out of their state. And the fourth stage would be a depression state, and they tend to be depressed. And she quotes this stage as a grooming, a preparatory grieving stage, and something, a stage that prepares us to the next one, then the last one, which is acceptance. So my worry is, as Tezi has been mentioning, we can't just go and say, so accept peace. We can't go and just say to someone who's angry, or who's depressed, or who's in denial about a huge loss, or a huge psychological trauma that they faced, to be just to give up on justice and look for peace. I think the timing matters. I think timing really, really matters. So unless we get people in that final stage of acceptance, it would be really, really hard for them to engage with us in seeking, seeking peace rather than justice. Because if someone is at the anger
Uh,
stage of, are you
Tesla,
listening? Yeah,
uh, you're still very soft. The guy said they can't hear you. Um, I'm not sure, like,
yeah, yeah.
what kind of mic are you using?
So can you hear me now?
That's much better. If you can project your voice that way, that will be much better for everyone. Because they
So you
missed the
haven't.
5 stages of grief. I could hear you, but soft because I had to pay attention. But for somebody
Yeah.
who's not paying attention, they probably lost you. Can you start
Oh,
about the 5 stages of grief? Is it from Kabla Ross? Is it
yeah,
the
yeah.
model?
Elizabeth Pavlov Rose, exactly.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I've
Yeah,
been
project
saying.
that voice that way. We can hear you from. Yeah.
All right. So I've been saying that I've been mentioning a few backgrounds about. I don't know if people here know about her work. So she was a psychologist from Switzerland. She had childhood trauma from child abuse from her father, an abusive father. She also survived through World War II, and her work was actually her book was published after World War II. And initially, her work was. Uh, Aimed at laying out stages of grief people go through when they lose a loved one, so someone close to them. But the work has been now generalized and amended to be applied and to uh, grief and trauma, psychological trauma, and there are 5 stages that people go through when they face such life-changing detrimental situations. So so people go through five. So I won't go into the details, but people go through denial. Then they will go through anger. So first they would deny that anything. So it could be the denial could be conscious or an unconscious one, but they will refuse to accept the fact that something bad has happened to them. So this will lead to a next step, which would be anger. So people will be angry at themselves or at anyone or anything that they believe have caused that harm to them. Then the next step would be bargaining. People could try to uh, uh, you know find a way out of the state they're in uh, through bargaining. Then the next step would be depression. So the first step is depression, and she put this as a preparatory stage for the next one, which is acceptance. So the last step is acceptance. So people naturally are taught to go through. So although it is different from person to person, people are taught to go through these 5 stages when they face or come across with emotional trauma. So, so my friend Tavi was speaking about. I don't, he was mentioning points on how can we ask people who sustain such traumas to just give up on justice and seek peace. And I agree with that because we need to, timing matters, and we can't ask people to, be at peace with whatever happened to them when they are in the denial phase. We can't ask them to be at peace with something bad that happened to them when they're depressed. So we need to wait on their natural process and help them during this journey to really engage with them because we will lose them if while you're angry, if someone is really angry about some loss, say a guy murdered my, my my relative, and if I'm angry with that person and someone comes and say just leave justice and be at peace, no, I would angry at that person also. This is a natural response from us, from people, and we need to really understand that uh, people who are grieving would not be rational as we want them to be. So we need we need a perfect timing. We need also to work on our communication, on how we put out that how we engage those people who believe are victims while seeking peace. So I think we need to strike a balance. We need to strike a balance between these two. Uh, I hope you've heard me now, right?
Yeah, I've heard you. I don't know if the other guys could hear you, but your
I,
voice went up and just started going down as you started speaking.
I think
Um,
the main point he made, if I was to clarify a little bit, is like, all given the different stages of accepting grief, getting to the conclusion of grief, we need to provide, when we make decisions, when we go out and do things, in the quest for peace or in the quest for justice, we need to respect the timing of it. I
Exactly.
think if that's how I understood it. Just what, at least that would tell you how much I've heard. If I have
Ex-
missed something, maybe you can clarify
Exactly.
a little bit.
Exactly. That was the main point that are they revolving at. Uh, in addition to the timing, I think we need also a good communication skill to reach out to those victims. So our communication skill, the way we put things, the way we do things, should speak to the heart of those victims. If not, we will risk losing them for good, losing them into a dark place in their mind. So I think, so coming to the case in Ethiopia, I think the government have missed these two vital things. The timing was not right. So many people are still angry, still feeling betrayed because the timing was not right. The other thing is, you could cover up the wrong timing with a good communication, but the communication was not also as such good. This was a really surprise. There was no one that reached out to those victims, and it sounded like the decision was made unilaterally. So although I think that peace is the route that we have to take. I agree with you on that. The way we do things should be really careful because the repercussions would be uh, you know it could even worse the situation.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So somebody asks you, we can end the war today,
Hmm.
okay?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then all you have to do is just do this, what the government has done, but it has to be done today.
Hmm.
You don't have time.
Hmm.
So what would you go for? Would you go for trying to assuage the grief and the misunderstanding, the communication part, or would you go for ending the war?
But Prof, that is my worry. On the real life, on the real world situation, it wouldn't be like doing now and today. It should be a process. So we need to engage people on the process, both the victims and the perpetrators. So we need to engage them on the process. It should not be something abrupt. That is my whole point. So
But to me, I don't think, like, I think people misunderstand. This is the thing. I don't think this was a case of justice or peace. This was not the case of a government saying abandoning the path to justice. This is a government postponing the path to justice. That's exactly,
I
if you
beg,
did if you, like,
I beg,
they haven't
I beg.
pardoned anybody. Nobody is off the hook. They just that, okay, we are going to pause on this right now, and it's hopefully uh, you come to your senses and then don't do anything but in return, Ethiopia gets done with the war.
Mhm. But I beg to differ. I think the government is sorting out things and choosing the road to peace rather than justice because this was an executive order like you've been
Yeah,
mentioning earlier on. I think
These people are not guilty of anything. You know
your
that.
arguments are really, they're relying, but
Do you know that the question is these people have not been found guilty of anything?
yeah, that is the court for the court
Yeah,
to decide. Yeah,
yeah, but
Ezra.
yeah.
So the law could set free someone who know you, who you know to have committed a crime. The law looks at the evidence, and decide solely based on evidence.
Evidence. It's not
But there
based on
is also
sentiment.
a
It's not
court,
public sentiment that
a
determines. You're
court,
right.
a court.
Yeah,
There is also a court in our in our consciousness, right? There is
yeah.
a moral court, right? There is
But
a
you see,
public court.
I'm not telling you the government made the right decision, the wrong decision, because this is not the right and wrong decision. It's not in the scale of yes or no. This is a moment. So this is a decision of where a moment has arisen, where you have to take up the opportunity as brought to you to end a war that is costing you even way more than what you and I can envision.
I agree.
And
I agree on that.
I would like, that's what, to me, like, they are in a better position to see what they're facing than you and I.
Yes, I do agree on that. But
That we should give that a room for that, at least in our analysis. That's me. I'm giving room for that.
I'm
Like,
with you on that. I'm with you on that. But don't you think they could have done it a little better?
always.
With regard to the communication, because
I agree with you. I agree with you. Hindsight, they say hindsight is always 2020 or side. So I don't know if I'm a chess player, and when I play chess against an opponent, and when I'm watching somebody play chess against somebody else, is different.
Mhm.
It's always different when you have to make those decisions on time, on space. It's different from when somebody's watching them. The person watching the decision play out has better view than the person making the decisions. So you and I, in some respect, are better position because you understand the feeling and the sentiment of the public. You understand the extent to which the trauma of what TPLF has done is so deep and so wide. It's so traumatic. So you understand it better than the government does, because the government has to be slightly more cold and more calculated than you and I.
Mhm.
But to me, yes, whether timing could be better, communication could be better, is something else so completely different from whether they make a tough decisions, and the tough decision that needed to be made, they had to be made, and do you support that or not, separate from whether they could have done a better job or not?
Yeah, but my fear is due to the decisions they made. I fear the consequences, the repercussions could be something even greater to more difficult to correct for
No,
quite some
no,
time.
it's not. Look at Mandatazi gave us a very good example of how sometimes, I remember I actually seen that video of Patrice Lumumba scolding the king of Belgium, and documentary on that. And the king, as he left, told his Belgian associate, grab that guy and bring his head to me. That's it's like, it's not word for word, but the paraphrase that way. And then a few years later, Patrice Lumumba was captured and butchered like an animal, and then put on acid so that no bone is left. That's and then I met somebody the other day, Congolese. Congo is still expecting some kind of proper apology and proper justice for what they've done to Patrice Lumumba. So they're like, yeah, sometimes going for justice in exchange and at the expense of peace might jeopardize further justice. It might jeopardize much more compelling, more powerful justice that happens. So the same thing with South Africa example also. But those are different. In the case of Ethiopia, we're not at that stage where we are having to deal. Do we need peace or justice yet? We're not there yet.
because the people who have been responsible for what has happened have not been left off the hook. They are not left off the hook. It just put slightly on ice. So that is a position, and for me, from a government perspective, from an Ethiopian perspective, given the constraints I have on me, politically, economically, socially, on a global stage, given the constraint of Ethiopia, sometimes Ethiopians, we see our country as if it's a European and American country because we have that sense of pride and sense of grandness in ourselves built into us because of our history. But the reality of the government is a very tiny government. The entire budget of Ethiopian government is $11 billion. And then you can go to any small country in Europe, they have that for a particular department for you. Sweden has, the education department is almost 90% of Ethiopia's budget. Sweden, the tiny country Sweden. So the flexible, that's looking at it from an economic perspective, but that implication is wide, far-reaching consequences. It means that when Ethiopian government is subsidizing your fuel, it's subsidizing out of that $11 billion on schools, universities, water projects, or electricity, or manufacturing. All of these things are consideration that's on the plate, on the government's plate. The Ethiopian people expect all of these things to be fixed. So do Africans. But the burden is so much higher, so you would take any kind of win that's on your way. Ethiopia has won this battle right now. It's no longer put aside and cast aside and denigrated on the global stage. Now it has an audience with the so-called superpowers. All superpowers. They are giving audience to Ethiopia, asking, what do you want from us in order for us to get what we want? We are in the negotiating table. So to me, that's where we are, but the justice part is not done yet. It's not over. And then the fact that the government has managed to get away with some kind of possibility of, any time that this thing goes off course, we will put these criminal crazes back on course. That possibility is still there. That is where the decision is. And to me, that's usually, given the complexity of the decision that you have to make, it is the best possible, not the best, but the best possible among the many worst possible scenarios that you are facing. To me, we need to understand that, at least understand that, and then give the kind of a benefit of doubt to the government and let it go. And I think Mondotezi's point of, key historical points in Africa, the Kenya experience, I know how the Kenyan fought for independence. And the key pillar of the independence fight was the land issue. It was a very hard, today we're talking about it in a theoretical way, but it wasn't theoretical in those days. They used to call the movement the Mau Mau movement, and Mondotezi would expand on that a little bit more. But my experience on that, just reading the history alone, not being in the history, not being in that moment, but me reading the history of Kenyan independence, I could tell you it was very, very hard. It was very, very serious. And look at Zimbabwe too. And then South Africa still hasn't figured that out yet. So we have to really understand that sometimes justice takes time. And in knowing that justice takes time, given that we haven't put off any possibility of prosecuting any one of these people because their case has not been completely closed. You've just been like, okay, on ice. Your case is on ice. That's essentially the message they got. They didn't get any amnesty. I don't know if people are reading it as if it's amnesty. It's not amnesty. Amnesty means that you can never be prosecuted again. The government didn't give any amnesty, at least hasn't declared that they've given amnesty. So we need to say timing, communication, all of those things. Of course, you could do better on that, but sometimes you can't communicate too much. Sometimes part of the deal is that you cannot communicate. Part of the negotiation that was taking place between Ethiopia and America could be that they cannot, you give me something that will make me feel like I have face saving. America probably needs some face saving thing out of this fiasco they put themselves into, because they are the one on the losing end right now. and they've lost miserably. So they're looking for space saving. So a little bit of humility on the part of Ethiopia probably was what they were looking for, and they got that from this. But to me, at the end of the day, the decision was the best out of many possibilities, and because we want to end the war. The war is the one that is causing more injustice. I mean, like the scenario in Tigray is horrendous. It's hard to describe because there's no one describing it for us. But I can imagine and I can envision if any one of us here got no access to electricity, proper food, proper thing, like the thing that you take for granted no longer being there for you, and then you're in the midst of war and then sacrifices, hundreds and thousands of kids that they put on the line, the TPLF, hundreds. They've literally depopulated the population of Tigray, depopulated, and this is an injustice of even a new proportion, and that they need to be asked for that too, not just only what they cause in Amara and Afar and Wolaga and Benishangul and all part of Ethiopia, but even for the cause here, they brainwashed young people and put them into a fire. And that is also part of injustice. But I don't think those things are going to be asked in the future. But we need to first end the war, and then we can discuss about justice or peace.
I hear you loud and clear. Tigrayans and the Tigray, I hold so close the Tigrayan people because I've spent I think a little bit more than 2 years working in Tigray at the start of my professional journey. I know how the people are peace loving. I know how I was a southern boy who had never been north of the capital,
Yeah.
and going to Tigray, specifically going to Aksum, was a bit challenging for me. But mothers of Abitat Aksum was really welcoming for me, and I owe them a lot. And I hold the cause of Tigray and the situation in Tigray very close to my heart. And any decision that will lead us to peace, and any decision that leads to preventing a single death, believe me when I say it, one death is one too many.
Too many.
Yeah. So any decision that leads to peace is, I would choose that any day, any time of any time and any day.
Yep.
But
and then you could be wrong though.
Huh?
By people's perspective could be, oh, you're wrong on that. That's part of the consequence.
But by doing so, we could even be, by taking such hasty decisions, we could even be prolonging the war and the conflict. Because if some segment of the population who thinks themselves are as victims feel like the government is failing them, is not bringing justice to them, they could feel like taking justice in their own arms by themselves and go on, a revenge spree.
Yep.
That could worsen things. It
Yep.
could also harm the social fabric that holds us together, and eventually crack up, disintegrate us. So that is my fear. Hasty decisions could
No,
lead.
but the thing about that is the thing. You have to. That's the nature of decisions. Even when you agree that could make you peace, but you would realize sometimes that possibility of peace is not necessarily absolute. That it is this conditional. That there's a risk that there's another flip side of it where it could turn around and bring you new type of headache, that you're exchanging one headache for another headache. Those are the consequences. When you are making those decisions, you are in the midst of that. So that's why it's not right or wrong decisions. You can't say right or wrong. Is to what extent is the best possible decision. It's kind of like more like in the spectrum as opposed to like an absolute. So it's more relative. So you have to think about how do we mitigate this risk. the risk you think you're talking about is something that they probably have thought about. Okay, this is the risk that we have to go take it, and this is maybe how we can mitigate it. But I can guarantee you, like you said, you're right. There are people who are right now at this point saying, asking questions: have we been betrayed? Should we look for other course of actions? But this is now the government's job to do the job of having to discuss, sit down, and having that dialogue, because these are the people the people who are now feeling betrayed are the people on your side. So then sit down and have that. That's when you lay the thing on the ground and the table and have the tough conversation. I had to make this decision, but how can I make this work for you? That's how you have to do it. You don't have any other way of doing it.
Uh, I love to give others a
Yes.
chance. I love Teacher Josie. We missed you earlier, and then Tesva overtook you. But we're gonna go to Josie, Teacher Josie, and then Deborah, and then Malenga. Teacher Josie.
Yep, I'm sorry. There is a bit network problem here. That is why I missed my team.
No problem.
And really, it was a good discussion, and I'm more interested to listen to discussion of Professor and my brother. Um, it's good explanation from Professor. I appreciate. And as far as uh, justice and peace is concerned, as for me, both are equal. This talking of coincides, because both sides are equally important. But what I want to stress here is the way we seek the justice. The way we seek the justice should be stressed. Actually, many has been said on case of justice, and examples are raised, but I don't repeat that. And when we sometimes I see confusion. We confuse justice to revenge. That is why I realize from uh, different experience, both inside and outside, in Africa or in Ethiopia, I see confusion. We confuse justice to revenge. The way we want, the way we seek, should be in uh, in a balanced way, should be, because justice may not happen the way we want, but most people would like justice to occur the way they want. And we don't have to complain like that by making or compelling the innocents to pay for a guilt they don't know about at all. Sometimes we say justice like that. Justice actually should be made for those who deserve it. However, that should come in a balanced way. Pros and cons of things made should be critically seen, as to me. The next thing is having trust on government in the case of justice. When something is done to bring justice, government do something, and we don't immediately make a protest, or this should be done, that should be done. Or when a government makes pardons, excuses to guilties even, we don't have to make a protest again. We have to listen. We have to listen or wait for justification from the government. And it is after that that we begin complaining or supporting what happened. Even in doing so, we don't. What I want to remark here is we can't have forever a godly or a heavenly or an omniscient leader. In justice making, in whatever decision, mistakes may be there all the time. Whomever leads a country or a country or whatever an institution, errors can be there because of humanity simply. And so, as Professor said, we should have a trust in our governments. And what should precede here is you have to give priority to forgiveness. To forgiveness. Because sometimes we want someone to be taken to court and sentenced to days, and on the contrary, government may make excuse and release. And this may not spoil our peace, can't spoil our peace. Justice spoils peace when it is not balancedly done. And so that is the way we should look at, or we should seek justice. When we seek justice, the justice made should not spoil peace, because we want both. We want both. Lastly, there was a point mentioned, I think by Professor, about conversation of America and Ethiopia. I want to say praise God for that, because it is a fruit of our struggle as Africans, and those who have been supporting our struggle to have such situation. And that is what I want to say. I don't know too much how my points are clear to you. Thank you. I want to say so.
They're very
Josie,
clear,
very
Teacher Josie.
Very clear.
Thank you.
Go right on to the point.
Yeah. My point is, we don't have to make innocent pay for the guilt made they don't know. You raised about Tigrayans, Amara, whatever. I don't want to repeat that. That is what we have to take care of, because it spoils peace again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teacher Josie. I'm just gonna allow Deborah, the special sister, the sister that is always here, regardless whether it's raining, it's hot, it's cold. She's forever here. She's holding it down for all the ladies. Deborah, welcome.
Yes, thank you. How are you?
All good, Deborah. And you?
Bless you.
Danan Shebi, Nkwan bas salamat tabak.
Okay. Milena, I don't know, Papa.
Oh, sala peace na justice. Higna salam. No, منارة أنا برز لي تبيم تنا سامانتنا.
أنا بزوج من اللي جم قلت ليش يا أما من كورونا مثلا جم تنسي.
Oh, let's hope you'll recover from this. She was saying about she probably have the C. So she's probably, I wish her to a better recovery, but still with the C, she's here on the panel. So I just explained our discussion, basically about justice and peace, and a discussion that was mainly about Ethiopia and situation. Comment to Tariq Nagarada?
Ne ግን ዛሬ የኛ ነው እንጂ የአፍሪካ ምንም ነገር እንግዲህ እኛ ውስጥ እቺ 2 ቀን ግን በጣም የማያሰማም ነገር ነው ያየን ነው። አንዴ በእምነት አንዴ በምኑ እና እኛ በተለይ እኛ ሰዎች እዚህ ውስጥ አሉ ስንት እንደሆኑ አላውቅም ግን እና መንግስት እኮ ይሄዳል ይመጣል ግን እኛ ሰው ብዙ ለምንድን ነው አንድ ፓርቲ ጋር በቃ ፓርቲ እኮ ይቀየራል ምንም አይደለም። ለምሳሌ አሁን እያየ ብዙ አለ እንትኑ ዩቲዩብ ላይ ምናምን እንደዚህ ተጠቅሞ ለሰው ደም በሰው አጥንት የምነገዱ ብዙ አሉ ግን እግዚአብሔር ይፈርዳል። ግን አሁን እዚህ ትላንትና አንድ የእምነት ተነስተው ነበረ ዶክተር አብይ የሆነ ሰዎች በፈታ እኔ ግን እዛ ጊዜ ተናደድኩ። ግን እኔ ምንም ማውቀው የለም ግን ወንጫና ይሆናል። ዛሬም አሜሪካ ስልክ ደወላለች ምን እንደሆነ ተናቅም። ግን እኛ ግን ሁሌ መንግስት ላይ መንግስት የሆነ ፓርቲ በቃ አንድ እኮ በአንድ ፓርቲ ይሄዳል ይመጣል ምንም አይደለም። ግን እኛ ለምንድን ነው እርስ በርሳችን እንደ በፊቱ አሁን ለምሳሌ አሁን አንዳንድ ነጋዴዎች አሉ ሚዲያ ላይ ዩቲዩብ ላይ ምናምን አማራ ከደን መንግስት እኮ መንግስት ነው እብዝ ነው። አሁን በዚህ ሰሞን ምንድን ነው የሚፈለጉ ኦሮሞና አማራ ሊጋጩ እየፈለጉ ነው። ግን እኛ መንግስት ለምንድን ነው የፈታ እኛ አላውቅም። እንትኑ የቲፒኤል ተፈቱ ግን እኔ ተናደድኩ ራሴን ተናድጃለሁ። ለምን እንደሆነ ለምን ተፈታ ብዙ ደግሞ እውነት ነው። አሁን እስካሁን ስሜት ውስጥ ነው ያለው ብዙ ግን ይሄ ነገር ቢቀነስስ የሌላ የማይሆን ነገር ምንድን ነው የሚገባ እና አሁን ህዝባችን በጣም እየተቸገሩ ነው በጣም እየተሰቃዩ ነው። ስለዚህ አሁን እኛ መንግስት ለምንድን ነው ፈታ እኛን አላውቅም። ግን አሁን እኛ እርስ በርሳችን ቆመን ህዝባችን የተጎዱ ብረዳን የሰማህ
የሰማሁሽ ነው
ይሰማል።
እና ህዝባችን እኔ ግን እውነት መናገር ከሆነ በጣም ነው ብዙ በጣም ነው ያየው ግን በጣም ምክንያቱ ያመመኝ ይሄ ነገር ነው። ግን በጣም የተጎዱ ነው። ሁሉም ብሔር እኮ የሞቱ ነው እኮ አለው። አማራም እየሞተ ነው አለ፣ አፋርም እየሞተ ነው አለ። ኦሮሚያ ክልል ወለጋ እኮ ሚዲያ ላይ ስላወጣ ነው እንጂ እኮ ብዙ እየሞተ ነው አለው። እና መንግስት ይቀየራል ይመጣል ይሄዳል። እና አሁን ይሄ ነው የምትጠቀመው አሁን አሜሪካ እሷ ጥቅም ህዝብና ህዝብ ከተጣላ ነው የምትፈልገው። አሁን ይሄ ነገር አስቆመን ህዝባችን በጣም ነው የሚያመው እና ብዙ አሉ። አሁን ትላንትና በእምነት ምናምን ተነስተው ነበረ እኛ
basically, the decision that was made over this weekend really is upsetting. People are still in their feeling, and their feeling is hurt. And the other thing is still there are other YouTubers that are still enticing the fight between Oromo, Amara, basically ethnical fights, promoting it to, oh, he's this and that. So she's very disappointed on what she sees and the actuality. And at the same time, we have people that are being hurt, and we need to help. And we are in this dilemma right now that we have to deal with about what the government decided. But I'm not sure about what is the true base of the release of these people and the timing. That's what she's asking. And at the same time, she got a little bit emotional. The fact we're losing people. People are dying left and right. There are people that are not being put on YouTube or anything else, and that really got her a little bit emotional. That's where how she feels about situation in Ethiopia, and still within the justice and peace. If you really look at it, there's a lot of information that's not really assimilated to a lot of people, and people are going through their feelings, getting hurt while we're going through this process. Why the government came about making this kind of decision. So this was one of her questions. His statement, literally. Other than Deborah, Danash,
አዎ አዎ እኛም አንድ
emotional
እንሁን እስኪ አንድ መሆን ይሻለኛል። አንድ ከሆንን እኮ ማንም እኛ ውስጥ አይገባም። አሁን ደግሞ የሚሮጡ ምንድን ነው? ሁለቱም ትልቁ ብሔሮች ሊጋጩ የሰው ደም እኔ እንዴት እንደሚበሉ እኔ አላውቅም። ለሰው ደም የሚበሉ ለሰው ደም የሚነገዱ እኔ የኛ ነው። አሁን እኔ አፍሪካ ውስጥ አይደለም። ምክንያቱም
wow.
የራሴ ውስጥ ብዙ ችግር ያለ የሌላ አፍሪካም ቢሆንም ግን መጀመሪያ እኮ የራሴ ክፈተን እኮ ለጎረቤቴ ከምትናገረኝ። ስለዚህ እኛ ውስጥ እኛው ለምሳሌ እዚህ ውስጥ አላችሁ እስቲ ብዙነት ተረጋጉና እምነት ላይ ደግሞ ትላንትና ተነሱ የእምነት ምናምን ጀመሩ። እግዚአብሔር እኮ የሚያየው እኮ ልብ ነው እንጂ መሬት አይደለም። የኢትዮጵያ ሀብት እኮ ለሁሉም እኮ ለአንድ ብቻ አይደለም። ዛሬ ተነስቶ ምንድነው እንደዚህ ሆነ ይላል። ሊያጋጭን እኮ ሁለቱም እምነት አሁን እቺ የምትሰራ ነው ደግሞ ድራማ አሜሪካ ናት። ሌላ ነገር ሌላ ቦታ ኢትዮጵያ ጋር ትሰራለች። አሁን ለምንድን ነው እኛ ባለስልጣኖችም የአንዳንዴ እናደደኛል። እኔ ውስጥ ምን እንደሆነ አላውቅም። ወይም ጫና በዝቶ ይሆናል ወይም ደግሞ ጫና ሊቀንስ ይሆናል። እነዚህ ቴክኖሎጂ ስለተፈቱ እኔ አላውቅም። ግን አሁን ይሄ ምክንያት እያደረጉ ደግሞ እንትን ሚዲያ ላይ የተጫወቱ ነው። እና አንድ እንሁን። እግዚአብሔር እኮ ሁሉም ፈጠረ እና ይብዛችን። በጣም እኮ ምስኪን ናቸው። በጣም የሚያዛዝኑ ስንት ልጆች የሞቱ ስንት ሸዋግሎች ስንት ብዙ እየሞተ ነው ያለው። ስለዚህ እንድረስ በቃ ችግሩ እነሱ ስለተፈቱ እነዚህ ሸማግሎች ናቸው። እኔ አላውቅም ግን በጣም ነው ተናደድኩ። ግን ሆነ ጫና ይሆናል እና በተለይ ዲያስፖራዎች ብዙ እንትን ያድርጉ እስኪ። እነዚህ ሚዲያ ላይ የሚሰሩ ሚዲያ ከቻላችሁ አዘጉ፣ ካልቻላችሁም ደግሞ አትስሙ እስኪ። በእምነት በምኑ ሊያጣለሉ ብዙ ሊያጋደሉ ደግሞ እኔ እግዚአብሔር ግን ይሄ ፓርት እንትን ቴፕለፍ እኛ ቴፕለፍ እኮ ሰው አይደለም። እንደ ራስ ሰው ብዬ አልጠራም። ይሄ እኮ አውሬ የጥልቅ አውሬ ነው። እነሱ ነው ይሄ ሁሉ ነገር እኛ ላይ አመጡ። ግን አሁን ይብዛችን ይድኑ ከየቦታ እየወደቁ ከየቦታ እንትን እየሞቱ ደማቸው እየፈሰሱ አሁን እነዚህ እዛ እየተጎዱ እዚህ እየተጎዱ ገና ደግሞ እንደዚህ መቆም አለ እና እኔ ዛሬ
ቤዝ
ጥሩም አይደለም ግን ያው
ተርጉምላቸው።
በጣም
አይዞሽ ዴቦራ፣ ይሰማኛል ስሜትሽ። እንዲያውም አሁን ስታወሪ ራሱ ይታየኛል የሚፈሰው ደም፣ የሚሞቱት የሚሰቃዩት ወንድሞቻችን ናቸው። አንድ በጣም በጣም ይሰማኛል። እንዲያውም እስካሁን ድረስ
በተለይ
ላላውን
ደግሞ መንግስት
ሀገር ነው
እንደዚህ የሚመለሉ ሚዲያ ላይ ለዩቱብ ብሎ እብዙ እየተሰቃየ እብዙ እየሞተ እብዙ ደሙ እየፈሰሰ ለዩቱብ ብሎ ስንት ሚዲያዎች እያየው ነበረ። ወታደሮች እዛ እየተጣሉ ፋይት ያደርጉ ጊዜ በቪዲዮ ቀርጾ ሚዲያ ላይ ነው እንትን ያለቀቁ። ይሄ ነገር ለምንድን ነው ኮንትሮል አይሆንም? ለምንድን ነው ለዩቱብ ብሎ ለብር ብሎ ለብዚ በደም በህብዝ ደም በህብዝ አጥንት በሬሳ የሚጫወቱ ይወዳል እንዴ? መቼ ነው የሚሞቱ? ያውቃሉ እንዴ? ነገ ማንም ወይ እኔ ዛሬ ይሞታል ወይ ነገ ይሞታል፣ እግዚአብሔር ብቻ ነው የማውቀው። ግን ያልፋል ሁሉም ነገር። ስለዚህ ህብዛችን ሁሉም ነገር እኮ የኢትዮጵያ ሀብት እኮ የሁሉም እኮ ኢትዮጵያ የሁሉም ናት። የአማራም፣ የኦሮሞ፣ የትግሬም፣ የሶማሌም፣ የአፋሪ የሁሉም ናት። እቺ ምድር ስንት ዓመት እንኖር? ስንት ዓመት ነው የሚኖር? ስለዚህ ይሄ ነገር ቶሎ ቢቆም እኔ ደስ ይለኛል። ይሄ ዞሮ ሄዶ
እንዳፍሽ አድርግልን። አንድ ጊዜ ልተርጉምላቸው። እንደ basically she's calling for unity. One of the things is regardless what the decision has been made, whether the leader of one of the leaders of TPLF is released is an old man, but there are so much. You described it literally. I can see it. People dying, children dying, elderly dying in this war, and a lot of things. So much atrocity, and she's really blaming some of the media for just for their businesses. They covering atrocities and enhancing and really promoting the war itself, and just for the sake of making money, and just looking at this playing with the video on the dead bodies that are laying all over the place. All that comes with the pain. It hurts. It really hurts. As you can hear, Deborah, you can feel it in her voice. The passion for humanity. She said Ethiopia is so big and big enough to hold all the ethnic group if we just come to one and have peace. And why not? Looking at the American. When it comes to America, the divide and conquer style of understanding. And now she was with TPLF. I don't know if this release of this such person over the weekend might bring peace. We don't know. But she's been supporting TPLF, and now she's back again to the main game. So she calls unity for all Ethiopians to hold all their angers and stop. Just think of a unity to start living in peace and help those that are fallen and those that are hurt. And she mentioned a lot of the children and elders that's been hurt during this course of war. And having this information over the weekend, then on top of it, there are other religious part that came in on a Sunday. There's a lot of it's like confusion after confusion, problem after problem, and she's calling for unity and to uphold the peace, no matter what the decision was by the government. Maybe.
አይ ጨርሻለሁ። በቃ እግዚአብሔር ሰላም ጣን አንድ ግን እኔ እግዚአብሔር ብቻ ነው የምለምነው። ሰውም አለምንም፣ መንግስት ማንም አላምንም። እኔ እግዚአብሔር ብቻ ደም የሚፈሰሰው አጥንት የሚሰበረ ለሁሉም ነገር
Yeah, she will pray for Xavier to bring peace upon us, and she doesn't pray for men. Basically, it's in the Bible. So she's praying so the peace can come, and that's where she ends. Wow, I'm very Deborah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I feel you. Thank you so much. But I'm someone.
And
All right.
I'll be taking final thoughts. We're about to close, and I'm just gonna start with Josie. Final thoughts on justice or peace, and then I'm gonna go to Mwendatezi.
Hey,
Then,
one more thing.
mhm.
Can you send African farmer the link? Because we always wanted to have him on.
I think he has
Every
been
time.
here.
Yeah. And he's asking for the link. There you go. Okay, African farmer, you
So
should see the link.
I'm gonna go to Josie. Final thoughts, and then Mwendatezi, then the brain, and then Deborah. And then no, before after Mwendatezi, Deborah, and then Ezra, then Biggie. Then we're gonna close. But we okay. Let me just allow African farmer to come in. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yes, please.
Welcome, African farmer.
Thank you. The other guy who's remind him to send the link.
We were about to close. I was no longer
Okay.
taking anyone.
I
That's
can
why.
make quick.
But keep it short. I know you're always passionate about the farmers, but I'll give you the platform. I know what you're gonna talk about, but continue.
Thank you so much. I'm turkey farming and chicken farming and the sheep farming, but I used now no more. But I will back when I get money. Okay. Okay, so I see the topic that say justice or peace. So peace is not come without justice. I think justice is first, because if not real justice on the other side, it will be another problem. So in Ethiopia, what's going on is maybe you don't have information. I know my Ethiopian brothers know what's exactly Ethiopian news saying, but for my other African brothers, they took back 36 years back in Amhara region. They destroyed all property and they raped more than like 1,000 girls, even the elders. These people who is attacking the Ethiopian military, even you never see in that much in massive captured military, which is shown on a TV to make fun for Egypt media. They are playing on the moral of Ethiopian defense. This is the people who's come out from prison. The prime minister every week he change his mind. He, of course, every day he talking about Ethiopia, but he don't have a. He's not the same way with the people. He just maybe he has a hiding agenda or what, you don't know. He started the war. A lot of life is lost. A lot of things happen since he came here. Always in Ethiopia is a bloodshed by a lot of meaning.
I want to correct you.
Who make Paris for you? Always playing. Who played always on YouTube? Don't play for people, another people play. Who make YouTube? Always working YouTube. Who always helping people? Who said the name of the name of Amara, the name of Oromo, the name of any. But playing. Who playing for played people? Man, بتنو لا يوتيوب لا يمسرا.
Okay, my sister, thank you.
babes ደም የተጫወቱ ማን ነው? እናንተ እኮ
አብይ አህመድ ወያኔ ነው።
አብይ አይደለም። አብይ አይኔ
እሺ፣ ልጨርስና ሀሳቤን ትሞግችኛለሽ። እኔ ማለት
አይ እናንተ እኛ እኮ እያየን እኮ እና እኛ እያየን
African farmer and Deborah, I think this conversation we're gonna have it some other time, especially African farmer. He has repeated this thing, this conversation a lot.
No, I will not repeat it. I will not repeat it, brother. Just give me a chance. You already give me. But for my sister Deborah, you have a nice heart. Just I will advise you. Make a video by Oromifa to stop killing on your neighbor on Amhara farmer for your people. Okay, just that's I want to say. TPLF and Abiy Ahmed, their problem is only to sit on a palace. Otherwise, they have the same agenda to destroy the Amhara. That's you can investigate it. That is both to destroy.
African farmer, that's a serious statement to say. Yeah. For now, let us not spread any hate speech. Let's try to keep it within the context of policy, within the context of decisions that are made. But for blank statements like that, we can also be strike as a channel. So let's keep it to that and try to keep it as to the topic as well. Because today the topic is about justice and peace.
Let's put aside the claim part, because a lot of other people can make equally the same amount of claims, right? So, and I know you respect that as well. But let's put the claims aside. Focus on the big picture here. Okay, the big picture of who's to blame, who's not to blame. Let's leave that to, because we need time and then I want to interrogate the point that you're making. Okay, give me the evidence, back it up. But we don't have the time to do that. Since we don't have the time to do it, since we are wrapping up, focus on the big issues. Like what are the solutions here? What are the suggestions here? What are the things that? So I know you want to go in depth on those things, but please let's keep it to that. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, these people is come out, so still the war is ongoing in Amhara region. People is fighting and people is dying, but he says the war is done, and also he not let the military defend the innocents. Still now they are displacing. Also the boss guy on your picture, the other guy, he, of course, you saying about policy stuff, because this is a starting talking about policy, talking from the ground, what is exactly the guy doing? What's exactly these people who's come out from prison, what they did on Ethiopia? Also, the other guy called Jawar, the hand of him, his supporters looting like more than 300 hotels and killing like 2,000 people. But because they think when Abiy is come to power, they think this is the time for their turn.
I think African farmer needs to just sometimes connect early, and then because some of the issues that he wants to raise, currently we already have a topic here, and not that I'm
it's a very debatable. It was debatable. It's gonna take a lot more than 3 hours to debate it and get it down. And sometimes I want people to understand, when you come in on this panel, let's stick to the discussion. We're not here to blame here and there. It's just your thoughts.
Yeah.
This is not a blaming platform. This is constructive and being honest on what we're trying to do for one Africa. If you have always a beef, to me, it's not going to work.
Another thing is distinguishing between somebody who is planning, organizing, and executing the killing, the distractions. Is one group of people. There are a group of people. We know that they do that, and there are people who either through some kind of limitations or some kind of missteps have not managed to prevent that. Okay, so people conflict the two. Sometimes, the responsibility of the government is to stop such things from happening. But those people who are intended, who are committed to the vision of destruction and killing, all they need to do is succeed in one of the efforts. They can have 100 plans, but one effort that kills hundreds will be more than enough for them. So we have to really distinguish between who is planning and executing the desert destruction, who's trying to prevent. And then those trying to prevent don't necessarily always succeed. And the measure of success on the part of those of us who are trying to prevent war, who are trying to prevent injustice, those of us who are on that side, that we have to be 100%. We have to get it 100% of the time. But those who are advancing injustice, you don't have to get it 100% of the time. You just need to get it 1 out of 100. So we need to really put things in balance as well. Like I know people who want to come and claim this, that, but you also have to put in context who is doing this. Who is doing the stuff in Amhara region? Who is doing the stuff in Oromia region? Who's doing the stuff in Somalia and Afar? Who is planning and executing all of those things? And we have to. Those are not they cannot be on the same weight as those people who are failing on their job. Yeah, those people who are failing on the job either through incompetency or through their lack of willingness to do their job. That's something else. That's a dereliction of duty is not the same as somebody committing a crime. So I had to say this to him.
And next time I would say, just like any other countries, go vote. You gotta go on the vote. And if you lose on your vote and the majority win, give it another chance. Don't just keep poking on one party, because that was a vote that's been done. We elected Prime Minister Abiy, and we stick with it. And if you want to impeach him, right down to the system, because there's a way of impeaching your Prime Minister. Come with the facts.
Yeah.
Because when you go there,
I think,
and you want to impeach him, you're just going to make sure that you got all the paperwork ready for that.
Yeah. So to me, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people don't get the limitation of their power, how far they go. I mean, none of us here are decision makers, so we cannot play the role of decision makers and second guess any decision that somebody makes when it comes to at the highest level. But we are decision makers, like Biggie said, when it comes to voting who makes that decision for you. I decide, you decide. So you make that decision, you make that choice. And that is where your decision matters. That's what you need to be thinking about. If Abiy and his leadership is not up to par to you, then go to the ballot post instead of thinking about how do I organize around and creating another armed force and another armed organization that causes more pain and more suffering. And that doesn't advance justice. That doesn't advance peace either. So yeah, thank you, Biggie. I second you on that point.
Thank you very much, family. And African Farmer, just turn on the notification icon so that you can join early the conversation, because we were about to close, and the whole topic was you were taking us from one topic to another, starting something that was not part of the discussion for tonight. But join us early, and that would be much easier for you to maybe raise some points, but stick to what needs to be discussed on the channel or on that day, and a time will come that we can talk about African farmers and stuff. That then you can be part of that and give us more insight as well. So, but family, in closing, Prof. Ezra, the question that Mika asked everyone was, where do you start, justice or peace first? Where do you start?
Yeah.
Your option.
It's a very good question. I think I try to answer it at the beginning of it, so that I know where this question came from, emerged out of the crisis in Ethiopia that just happened over the weekend. So I wanted to address that separately from the justice and peace part. Okay. And I would say, in isolation of the context within which we are discussing this, I will go for justice over peace. Justice in the absence of context. In the context where we're in, I will go for peace before justice. I want to establish peace that will allow for some justice to take place. That's the justice, because justice takes time, justice takes process. I think, like Mondotezi point out, justice is a long process, and I think our friend, I didn't get his name, the other person who eloquently talked about the process of grief. I think that's also part of the discussion. It takes time. For some people, go through the stages of grief like in split seconds. Others takes them decades to overcome those traumas, those grief and any kind of trauma. So justice has to be paced around the speed at which we find ourselves, the situation, but without a sense of peace, because justice requires execution. Justice requires some kind of planning, some kind of organizing, some kind of delivering, and some kind of enforcing. And then if you don't, peace means, the lack of peace means you don't, the tools for justice are fragmented. The tools for organizing for justice are fragmented, are disjointed, are not going to be effectively organized to delivering the justice that you want. In the case of Ethiopia, we are in a crisis situation where our instrument of justice cannot be deployed in the circumstances we find ourselves. So that's why I separate the two answers. I have two different answers. The first answer is that in theory, in philosophy, at the philosophical level, I'm always going to go for justice, because on justice you build sustainable peace. But in terms of the context in which we find ourselves in Ethiopia, we are not at that stage where we are debating whether justice or peace. We are at that stage where we don't have the instruments for discussing those justice or peace issues. So we need to find a way to settle things, to really move things in the direction. And then what people don't understand, in the case of Ethiopia, nobody has been pardoned. Nobody has been given amnesty here. They have been released from prison, but no amnesty has been given. So usually that's the thing that happens, where people escape the instrument of justice because amnesty has been provided. But there is no amnesty has been provided. That means the evidence that has been compiled so far, and the evidence that will be compiled ahead of us, will be part of the justice, the process that will come after the end of this war. This war will end, and there will be process for justice. And in this case, then peace will come, and then we can focus all our instruments, all our governmental instruments, social instruments, our political instruments, in achieving sustainable peace, which requires justice at the core of it. And I hopefully that answers it. I know it's a little bit convoluted answer, but I've tried to give myself the leeway of giving two different answers.
I know His Excellency was here. I was gonna say no, choose one. But what a great insight how you balance the two, how each is both beneficial in terms of the timing of the current environment or the current climate in Ethiopia. Peace will be the solution that you start with first. But even if it was another time, probably you would have started with justice, which was
justice.
Okay,
Absolutely. Oh. And almost all the times, I would choose justice over peace. On almost all the times. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, the brain. We missed you. We really missed you, Biggie. We know he was making bread, but we missed him, eh? And we know you're listening in the background, but
I know. Yeah.
Oh, you know, we pray for your business, that it prospers in this year and multiplies and expands and stuff, you know.
Thank you. I want to revolutionize education. Trust me, I've been desperate for that, and I feel more confident now that you guys are off the ground.
Still owe me the already. Yeah.
Am I the one? Am I the only one not hearing Biggie, or is the same
Yeah,
for
same.
you?
Yeah, I'm Biggie.
I feel like
Can you hear me now?
interference.
Yeah,
Yes,
now
yes.
we can
Oh,
hear
can you hear
you.
me?
Much better.
Okay.
Much better.
I said you owe me a call that we're gonna sit down and talk on some of the things about when it comes to the technology part of education.
Yes, yes. I want to develop it. I want to develop the concept. But by the way, I can give you a hint. We want to use. I read this book called New Power Dynamic, where it talks about leveraging network effect, channeling network. So, like, I want to create a platform as opposed to create solutions, so that people with all different perspectives can come in and develop all sort of fascinating tools, instruments of really extricating Africa and extricating the South. I'm talking about eventually extracting the entire world from an education system that is dehumanizing. And then so I'm currently working on the platform components. I'm thinking of using blockchain methods, new technologies that are available out there to really find a way to. So we are in the process of. So I don't want to come in, but the reason I'm telling you this, in a couple of weeks we're thinking of bringing people on board, a couple of maybe 1 or 2 people on board, and we are in that space right now.
Wow. Well, we can't wait.
Followed, yeah. If you followed on our previous session, we are on the 100 days. We're showing our efforts, what's been accomplished. So there'll be some question and there'll be question on how we're going to develop our future for the 2022 agenda. So this is going to be one of them. That's excellent.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support, guys.
Thank you very much, Biggie. Thank you, Prof. Ezra the Brain.
All right. I just conclude on mine when it comes to that justice or peace. Okay. I'm going to read that back again. Does justice matter in peace negotiation? For a long time, making compromises on justice with powerful perpetrators of mass atrocity has been an integral part of peace negotiation, ending conflict. The immediate concern of ending the violence often resulted in amnesty for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Sometimes were presented the calls for justice as obstacle to peace. When it comes to, for me to select justice or peace, I'll select peace because peace is always backed by justice.
Wow. Thank you very much, Biggie, for your thoughts and for your for selecting peace. I know Prof. Ezra showed us the both, how they can all work. And yeah, family, for tonight, I think we are gonna have another session for justice or peace, and probably maybe a part 3. I'm not sure whether tomorrow we'll do a part 3, but we will just have a small discussion in the background and know where we're gonna do it. But family, if you've just joined us tonight, please subscribe. A lot of people have been joining or listening but not subscribing. Just go and subscribe. And to African Farmer and others who come late, just go and turn on the notification icon if you've not subscribed, or if you've already subscribed, just turn on the notification icon so that you can get notified when we start the live streams and not miss anything. Because one day you come in and you say link and we are saying shalom, we are closing, and you end up crying, you know. So please try to join on time, 9 p.m. East African time. And yeah, 9 p.m. East African time. That's Tanzania, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, Djibouti's time. So if you know, you know. Be here on time every night. We are live and discussing different matters and different issues. So for tonight, I'm not sure if there's something that I missed out, Biggie.
Yeah, there's one message that I tried to locate by Sam. It was a very important message on his comment. He's telling to all Ethiopians to stand together no matter what the decisions are, and we're impenetrable like diamond. We're compacted. So I try to find that message. I don't know if Sam, if you hear us, you can repost it again. I find it very beautiful. I mean, it's a very strong statement for all Ethiopians to stick together, because we don't want to change our attitude toward the government. If the government make a decision, wrong or bad, we're going to have to follow. So he made a very strong statement on that. Sam, if you can repost it again, I really appreciate it, because I cannot find it anymore.
Yeah, there's been a lot of messages. He's also been busy today. He posted
Yeah,
a lot of
Sam has been, Sam was busy.
Yeah, thank
I
you,
just
Sam.
want to
He's also a
recognize that.
member as well.
Yeah, he said, let me
Yeah.
look for it. Yeah, that was absolutely
Yeah.
To me, like I really want to stress this point.
Mm.
You sit yourself in the position you are, not in the position you're not.
Mm.
The leaders have a position, a seat that you don't have. Hence, the point of view that we don't have, a perspective that we don't have. We can only relate with it, understand it or not understand it, get frustrated. Don't try to conflate that from really broad issues of justice and peace. Those are like really broad. They're not necessarily, no decision have been made about what the course of justice in Ethiopia right now. No decisions have been made. They've only made tactical changes. They're not broad strategic decisions on justice, how justice is going to take place, how Ethiopia is going to reconcile, all those things. But what you have to sit yourself in is like you have to take, given the circumstances, given the weight of the position you are in, given the nature and the conditions, your socio-economic conditions of a country, given the fact that you are more limited than your mobility. We don't, like, people really misunderstand that. Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian government must understand that they don't have as much mobility that we think we have. We have very narrow mobility. And within that small, narrow mobility, you have to maximize the most that you can possibly get. And the fact that the Ethiopian government was not forced to make amnesty, that means they've managed to get a huge concession. That's a major, massive concession on their part. So people don't, and then that's looking at it from our side. But looking at it from their side, they have to make those tough calls. And the fact that they made the tough calls and you don't like it, the fact that you don't like it is a good sign that you should be okay with that. Because they are making the decision knowing that you're not going to like it. And that is the person I want to rely on more than anybody else. I don't want somebody making a decision just to please me, and then in putting in peril the sustainable nature of our social order. That part, I don't want that compromise. So I really want to stress that and get over this self-righteousness. I think a little people are becoming. Sorry, like I'm gonna be blunt. I know Biggie is gonna temper me. Israel is gonna do a job to temper me a little bit, but I have to be the one who take the route of the devil's advocate here and be the blunt one and really say, like, get over the high horse. We are not building heaven on earth. We are in an imperfect, even more imperfect in Africa than anywhere in the world. When you don't have resources like this, like I said, Ethiopian government, the entire budget of Ethiopia is smaller than the budget of defense, the defense budget of the Netherlands. The Netherlands, tiny country in Europe, has more money for the defense Thank you. Brutally honest. Yes. More money on the defense. More money on the defense budget. Go and look at it. Google it. This is easy to Google. The Sweden spends $9 billion just on education alone. Ethiopia barely manages to spend $500 million on education. And not because it doesn't want to spend more. In fact, as a percentage of it, it's one of the highest in Africa to spend. It is considered to be a star in terms of its prioritization of education. But the totality of it, when you look at it, it's not. The Ethiopian government has to execute security and sovereignty of the country, the infrastructure of the country, and continue to advance the aspiration of Ethiopian people, democratic, social, and economic. And mere pittance of 11 billion. Let me give you an idea. In California, the government spends $12 billion on homeless people alone. These are homeless people because they chose to be homeless, not because the society made them homeless. It's not the way in Ethiopia is. $12 billion alone here in the in one state here in the United States. So we're asking too much out of our government. In fact, they're making so much more out of the little they have. So people don't have really good context. The Ethiopian army, Ethiopian government should be spending $11-12 billion on defense alone. For the country the size of Ethiopia, 120 million people, that size, the size of many states in America and Europe put together. And then it should be spending 2-3 times more than what Netherlands spends on their tiny country. But they can't, because we are not working hard. We're not developing our society. We have so much work to do, so much thing to figure out. So really, please get off your high horse. Really focus on getting done with the war that we are in, so that we can get back to work, so that we begin to build the social orders, the social structure, where we can attain the justices that we've so lacked for centuries now. Not decades, centuries. There's so many injustices that we need to get on and bring back on. When I say centuries, I'm talking about African countries included. So we have a lot of work to do, and war is not going to be the one that is going to help us achieve that. Or, stopping the persecution of, some people that we don't like, some people we know. I have actually met Sabat Naga personally. I didn't know he was a powerful person. I had a bunch of my students, and I went to him. It was in a hotel, and I went to him, and then I met Arkabe Kuwait at the same time as him. And I had these 3 or 4 students who were, our school is a leadership school, and I was going around stopping these potential leaders. Bill Gates was also there in that conference, and I was asking them, it's like, I have these students here, they're learning about leadership, and what are the things that you would advise them about leadership? I can tell you, my experience with Sabah Naga was horrible. He refused to answer me. And then me being me, I wasn't going to let him off the hook. And because I didn't know who he was at that time, how much power he held in those moments and blah, blah, it didn't occur to me that I'm dealing with some big guy. So I stuck with my gun and said, no, these are young people. We're all going to die at some point. They're going to be the one who are going to lead. Is there anything you're going to teach them? Anything that you're going to teach them about leadership? Anything? After 3 attempts, after all the scolding he did, he gave up. He relented. But the answer he gave was horrible too. It was like, oh, you have to wait for your turn. That was essentially the answer he gave. Some kind of 18th century Machiavellian principle that he tried to plant into the student. And my student knew him. They knew about him. And they're like, mister, do you know that guy is a big guy that you were talking to like that? And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't know he was a big guy. And that's my experience with Sabat Naga that you guys are crying about. That's some useless guy. And then Arkabe Kuwait also, we also met Arkabe. Arkabe Kuwait was the opposite of that. He was so excited. He was so excited to meet young people who are desperate, interested in leadership. And all the 3 people that I took there, one of them is currently a PhD student at Stanford, and 2 of them are in Ashoka, pursuing, Ashoka is a university in India, who are pursuing a master's and a first degree on computer science and computer engineering and philosophy. So to me, what I can tell you is that let's not get worked up on these little minded people whose only idea of power is subjugation, oppression, killing, and injustice. And the way we will answer them and counter them is by bringing a much more compelling social order, a social order based on humanity, a liberation of people, the liberation of our people from such kind of yoke, so that we will never repeat it again, ever repeat it again. And that is the project that we should focus on. And that's me being brutally honest. Thank you so much for making that point. I like the banner, Swahili Nation. So I guess I'm fulfilling the 2022.
Yeah, you started on the right part there. You started on the right part,
Thank you.
Brain.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, nobody should agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me. Disagree with me. I'm so happy for you to disagree with me. Okay, like, that's the job. That's the goal.
Are you writing them on a small letter, or you're loud about it? Disclosure. Your disclosure. I love it. I did. After all he said, he got a little disclosure. Love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because you don't want tomorrow to say now, but Prof. Ezra said they start quoting you now.
I don't have monopoly on truths. I have monopoly on my own truths, my own personal truths, and my own perspective. So I respect. If I am somebody who fights for the liberation of others, imposition of my point of view as if it's all final is also is counterintuitive to the notions and the ideas of the agency of individuals and the agency of communities, and that is contrary. So that's why I had to do that little disclosure at the end. Thank you, Biggie, for noticing that. Only Biggie and Israel will notice that. But Swahili Nation people will notice that.
Wow, another comment I just read from Africana. He said, my counsel to African youth: irritate all these adults so that they do what is right for Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's putting fire.
Yeah.
He's putting fire.
Why didn't he talk about that? Why didn't he? That's the thing, that's the point that you should be focusing on, not on some really like seriously. Like that's the guy earlier, right? Who
no
could not. This is a different one. Sorry.
He's from I think Kenya, but it's based in the States, Africana. He once joined us.
Yeah, he joined us once.
Yeah, it's from Kenya as far as yeah.
Oh, I love this. I love this. This is the wisdom that we want to hear. This is the honesty we want to hear.
Brutally honest. That's brutally honest. Yep. The youth got a question.
Yeah. So family.
Okay. Let's pray.
Yeah, today we even forgot to open with prayer, but we will close in prayer.
There you go.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day that you've blessed us with. Thank you for our brothers and sisters that came, shared their wisdom, shared their knowledge. Thank you, Father, as we are going different places. Be with us, protect us. May we come back with more knowledge and wisdom to impart and exchange with others. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Appreciate that. Ezra is always both Ezra at the same time, so I'm very very happy to see the other Ezra coming in. He co-hosted it almost all the way. I think he is making up time for what he was missing. So thank you so much, Ezra, for coming back and give us the highlight.
thank you guys for holding the ground, and
Thank
I
you.
had trust in you. You do that, so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And all the other commentators, thank you so much, PA1. Alma Sesfai, I see you have some issue that you want to talk about, and I think that's going to be a topic that we're going to bring in, that I think we're going to have to start talking being Africans, and we're trying to eliminate the differences from ethnic groups and stuff like that, and how we can get out of it, just to be one Ethiopia, just like Eritrea. Eritrea is one Eritrea. There's no ethnic division. That's been eliminated way before the war. So let's learn also from Eritrea on how they manage to be ethnic free, even though you have ethnicity and you have culture. But when you ask an Eritrean, he's Eritrean, and he does whatever that is. He says Eritrean, so they stick by it. So anyway, we got a lot to do 2022. Keep in mind, for progress, any low-hanging fruit that you want to throw in that is achievable within the next 100 days, I'll be appreciating it, because we'll take that topic and address it and assign it to people, and maybe we can pave some ways. So I really appreciate that. Ezra, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
guys.
family.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate
And just before you go, Biggie, look who just joined us. I Can Fire.
I say I Can Fire. Yeah, I see that.
Brother from Jamaica.
That's right. That's right. One love, man. Very, very. We miss you on this one. I Can Fire, and I think Naja joined in the morning. I didn't even see him because I know he was in the morning session.
Yeah, he never sleeps. To Niger.
And PA3, he writes a lot, and I really want to talk to him.
Yeah, Pi, he's been here. He
comes in.
remember
He comes in. Yeah, he comes in.
Yeah, I didn't see
from Taiwan. He's in Taiwan, all right?
Yeah, Taiwan. Yeah,
Taiwan. Yeah, I didn't see him in and out. But thank you so much for your support again. I really appreciate that. Jonathan, of course. Jonathan is always there. Sam is there, except Red Sea.
Red Sea.
Toward the end, he's gonna hear that again,
Yeah, Red Sea, and
I think he's now holding that position now. He's holding that position now. Now, like he's no longer gonna. Yeah, he's no longer good. So now he's marked as somebody who's always going to be the vibrant commentator.
Absolutely.
The commentator. We call him the commentator.
Yep.
Like the football match commentators. Like
absolutely. He keeps things straight.
Yes.
And it's funny. I don't know if she or he. Still, we didn't identify yet. Did they ever reply to that?
No one knows.
Yeah,
he never replied. Well, that's another question. At least on the next comment, he probably put that. But very funny, and I like his attitude on his comment. Marie Antoinette is always there. She comes in. We are there. We see our people. I just want to make sure.
Even Tesfa, he was in here earlier, I think. Akanfa is apologizing for not being here, and Pi is always here. Thank you, Pi, for always being with us. I know it's morning there in Taiwan already.
He's having breakfast.
Yeah, he's having breakfast.
Ezra and food.
And Sam has been on fire as well. Sam has been on fire. Who else? And Jonathan, obviously. It's, it's always on fire, it's always here. And I saw even Africana today. He was busy. He came in a little late, but he started being busy with a lot of comments. But we thank you, family. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you for always for your support, for your continuous support. And we are on our way to 200,000, family. So please be part of this growth, and let us reach 200,000 before this month end. Please, that's our target for this month. 200,000, 200,000. We're almost there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's subscribe, please, family. Let's subscribe. Let's subscribe.
We're gonna
Let's
get that
subscribe.
target.
Let's subscribe.
Bring on people, and we welcome everybody. No matter how controversial you can be, whatever you want to be, this is your platform to be heard. Because the issue is controversial, it doesn't mean you're not right. Because we learn. Everybody on this platform wants to learn. And I want to extend that very much for the people that really want to talk about certain things. And sometimes, we got to stick as much as we can to the topic. And if you have another topic, again, if it is something that we need to revise the whole history of something, we're just going to throw it out there and have a session for it. Because that's the only way we can have discussion, something of an urgency, something that we need to talk about. And eventually, once this platform start actively funding different projects, different things that we want to help people, then it's going to be very important that we need to have those discussions and help out. Like the Gambia, we didn't know about it. I tell you honestly, I didn't turn on TV because I was in the meeting too. We heard about our brothers sisters that died on the fire. May they rest in peace. And it's kind of sad. It's a sad day, really, for us. So anyway, Ezra, I'll let you close it out. And thank you so much. And time to go eat dinner for me. A little bit too early.
Yes.
By the way, so I don't know if I've been experimenting on this device, Oculus. I just got that at the end of last year. Oculus Quest. I don't know if it's reached Africa yet, but I don't know if Biggie has. This is a VR device. Is Facebook has been selling. So I've been using it to figure out how you can collaborate stuff. So with my partner, we actually work in virtual office space, and the potential is incredible. It's incredible. I know it's just technology, it's new technology that has so much yet development to happen, but I'm hoping that some African kids will have some exposure to this. Like, I can do one better than this. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What is it again? The brain?
It's called Oculus. Just give me a second. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
It's called this.
Oculus is a virtual.
Okay, that you put in.
Yeah.
And then,
so the one I spend most of my time not in the game or anything, because it's literally almost nothing in there. The one thing that really I'm enjoying being in is there's a code. It's called Workroom. They call it Workroom, developed by Facebook. And I would share a little bit of videos that I recorded inside the Workroom on our WhatsApp a little bit. So because it takes a lot of the size, so I will edit a little bit and I will post it, and you can see what I'm talking about. But you could just literally take a computer in there. So I would take my computer, this computer in there. This. So I can take this computer wherever I'm sitting in. I just turn this into a virtual space.
Wow. Okay.
And then whoever you're working with, if they have it, if they don't have the VR, it's still okay. They can still interact. You can still get into that place. But with it, then you are like inside the conference room.
and the tables are interactable. You can draw. There's whiteboard stuff, and it's still at the early stage, so it's not like highly developed stuff. Where in terms of potential, in terms of work, I've been working there. We have been so productive. The person I'm working with, we have been productive every week. We just spend a couple of hours. We don't spend too much hours because it can be a little bit jarring to have it on your head for a long time. But so something I'm not. It's not that expensive. It's about $300 for what it can offer. But there are a few games in there, but the games are okay. Some games are okay, but most games are not. So they're selling it for the gaming, but the gaming has not yet developed fully. But for the work part, I have enjoyed it thoroughly. That part I would say is better than. I'm sitting here in a kitchen, so my apartment setup is I have roommates, very tiny space, but in that virtual space, I don't feel in my room. I can be on my bed and then feel like I'm in an office.
No.
So there's some real good potentials, and then I find myself being more productive. And that's why I'm not usually the one to recommend technologies, but and this is not a recommendation either. But I'm like, this is something to really take seriously and consider it seriously.
Yeah. Something
so
that
these are the devices you have right hand so it senses your hand, and then so it has a sense of stuff all around it. So it's a fairly good thing but the programs are not there. They're not developed. So any African who's a software engineer learn to develop stuff for VR. Like if you are
one
interested
person,
in software engineering,
we need to talk to Ridge.
Yeah.
Ridge does a lot. He's working on a few
tech
things.
stuff. Yeah. So
I didn't see Ridge.
Okay.
I'll contact him. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. Wife is waiting.
Yeah. Supper time.
Supper time. There you go.
Say hi to
Thank
the
you
wife.
so much.
I know she attends. I know she attends the meeting through you. So
right.
Yeah.
Ezra was saying all the things you don't want to say. Ezra was saying all the things you don't want to say. Yeah, I'm okay. I'll take the hits. It's not solely Nation's point of view. It's Ezra's point of view.
Yeah, she heard you. She heard you guys. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Have a wonderful evening.
One Africa, guys.
One Africa. Thank you.
One Africa.
Okay. Good night.
One Africa. Bye-bye.
Let's meet again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 9 p.m. East African time. Turn on the notification icon. Join us as we go live. Get notified when we go live. Be ready to join the conversation. Don't be late. Don't be late. Don't be late. Don't be late. Nowadays, we're going to keep in time. We're going to keep, you'll get here and we say shalom without, and you'll be crying. But join us tomorrow. And for those who have joined us and have not subscribed, please subscribe. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. We need you. We need you. We need you to be part of this family. So from my side, till we meet again tomorrow, shalom.